you catch. It's not that hard, okay? All right, get the out of here.
I'm going to talk a lot about drills and fundamentals.
Watch it, watch it, watch it, watch it!
On 93.5
Watch it!
and 107.5.
Boom, baby!
The Fan.
Here's my question for you to start what hopefully is going to be a good Thursday, Kevin. You ready? Mark, you can chime in as well.
Let's hear it.
Mark usually wakes up about 8:15. You don't do the cereal anymore, Mark. You used to.
I mean, I've been doing the cereal at home, but I don't really. It's too much to bring here. It's just a lot to do. So I'd eat like a banana on the drive-in, or maybe some toast or something. I've been doing that.
Eat it on 465.
Yeah. you just drive with your knees.
Sure.
At that point.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
This headset's not working.
Is it possible, Kevin, to have a silent 51-point game? Because I feel like last night, I'm at the Pacer game. My buddy Aiden Jett joined me. We're watching the game, and Giannis is so impressive and so unique in his skill set and his fluidity, just everything about him. I mean, he's really impressive to watch. And he's got a 38 17 rebound, 12 assist, triple-double going, right?
He had a triple-double midway through the third quarter.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, Aiden's like, hey, Jrue Holiday's got 41 or 42. And I'm like, what? I mean, you knew he had a good game. But it felt like they were going through Giannis, which was opening things up for Jrue Holiday as opposed to Jrue Holiday taking over like in a Kyrie-type sense.
Yeah, I think, because I watched the whole game, and I thought I've always just loved Jrue Holiday. I think I've told this story before. My dad taught in Wayne Township for 30 years, and one of his favorite students is Lauren Cheney. So it was married to Jrue Holiday. So I've always just, enjoyed getting to follow his career, and seems like a great individual and all of those things. Jake, I would say the thing that stands out about his game last night, he had 51. How many threes did he hit?
Right.
He's a 6'4" guard that scored 51 points. He didn't hit 8 threes. He didn't make 15 free throws. I don't recall too many dunks he had. The dude made 17 two-point shots in the game. And for a 6'4" guard, that is probably like where the quiet nature comes into play. He's not pulling up from volleyball lines. Again, he didn't live at the free throw line. He wasn't dunking on everybody. It was just what Jrue Holiday does. And I know we get into this debate, and Jake, you've been inside so many locker rooms, and I feel like the most popular debate you hear inside of an NFL locker room is, who's the best basketball player in this locker room? That is the debate every time I go into an NFL locker room. Jrue Holiday could play in the NFL. I'm convinced he could play Major League Baseball, and I'm convinced he could play soccer at a really high level. He is such a skilled athlete. He's quick. He can jump. He can finish with both hands.
Too, right?
He's strong. Yeah. Everything. He is just I've said this before. That family is going to save U.S. men's soccer right there. Their son will be the greatest soccer player this country's ever seen. On the men's side.
No pressure on the kid.
Zero pressure whatsoever. Call me Earl Woods. Call me Richard Williams. Their son, and I believe they have a daughter as well. Their son, with the combination of one of the best women's soccer players this country's ever seen and the athleticism of Jrue Holiday, the savior to the U.S. men's national team.
The daughter could be the best female soccer player, right?
Certainly. Of course, women's soccer we're already good at. Men's soccer we are not.
The one of the greatest tweets I've ever seen, and for those that aren't on Twitter, which I realize is a lot of people, every once in a while you'll see a tweet, which is just a posting basically, from just some, that's gone viral that 900,000 people have retweeted it and, whatever else. And then you look, it's just some guy that works at a paint store in Altoona, Pennsylvania that's got 800 followers. And that was the case when Aaron Holiday was drafted. Aaron Holiday, the youngest brother of Jrue Holiday. Of course, Justin Holiday, who also was a Pacer, was already in the league. So Aaron Holiday's drafted into the NBA. This was right at the time when LeVar Ball was like, you could not turn the corner without running into a different clip of LeVar Ball doing something. And somebody sent a tweet that said, I don't know this Holiday fella, but he just got his third son into the NBA before LeVar Ball. It's the greatest tweet ever. It's true. I have no idea who Jrue Holiday and Aaron Holiday and Justin Holiday.
Do the ages add up? Wasn't the youngest Ball still a little bit younger?
I think the youngest Ball, might have been, But the point being, I mean, that's all you heard about from LeVar Ball, but, forever, and never heard much about the Holiday guy.
And obviously, the Holiday brothers, I mean, Jrue is so unique from his other two brothers, not to act like, they're lacking athleticism. Clearly, they're in the NBA, but he's just a different cat, and he's incredible talent, and he was outstanding last night. A good Thursday morning to you. Kevin Bowen, Jake Query, and Mark Dykton here. I believe it's supposed to be a pretty nice day before the rain comes into town tomorrow. Again, 2 days away from the Final Four. We're going to catch up with Bo Boroski. You've heard him on this program before. Refereed several Final Fours. He retired from officiating. Was it last year, Jake? 2 years now that he's...
Okay. Yeah, that's right. 2 years. Well, when was my years all run together, and I apologize. The Carolina Duke Final Four was last year, right?
Yeah, was he?
He was in that. He did the Carolina Duke
just 1 year.
And he now runs an organization. Well, not an organization. He runs a website called RefQuest, which is partnered with he can elaborate further, but the NCAA and I think IHSAA as well, or some of the IHSAA associations use it. But essentially, if you are an official in the NCAA and you work, let's say, typically Missouri Valley games, if I'm not mistaken, and my understanding is vague, but RefQuest is the website where those guys go on to get their game assignments, and then in it there are videos on there of the previous week's games of calls that were both correct. Hey, here's a unique play. Be aware of this kind of a play. This is what happened in the Northern Iowa Tri-State game, whatever. Or here's one that was called wrong, etc. He operates that now.
He's going to join us at 8:30, and then Joel Erickson at 9. Just based off where the time slot is for the show, we haven't had a chance to really catch up with anybody from out there at the league owners' meetings. But Joel sat down with Shane Steichen and Chris Ballard and Jim Irsay, so I do want to get some perspective with someone that was there on that, make sure that the comments that we're seeing, provide a little context around it. So Joel's going to join us coming up at 9. Any sort of interest in today's major sporting news?
Depends on what you list as major sporting news. You're referring to Indiana's revolving door of the transfer portal.
Yeah, maybe I could have been a little bit clearer on that, but the fact that we don't lead off the show, nor is it top of mind that today is MLB Opening Day, does that tell you everything you need to know about baseball right now?
The problem with MLB Opening Day, and I actually have something that I want to do with you guys about Major League Baseball. I think, Kevin, that Major League Baseball Opening Day has been watered down a little bit based on when they started staggering it out.
Well, now it's everybody's playing.
No, I understand, but we got into the habit of, remember when Opening Day for a couple of years, that maybe it was just 1 year, but they did teams played in Japan.
Oh, yeah, a week earlier.
It was Seattle and Oakland, I think, were in Japan, and then it was kind of staggered out. It is fun. I think that there are two things three. There are three factors, I believe, that go into this, to your point. The first being we're not obviously in a major league city, but that can be offset if the Reds or the Cubs, which are the two primary teams that people are psyched about in this market usually. Cardinals as well.
To call in.
Cardinals as well. But the Reds and Cubs are the two that I think have probably the biggest fan base here. And the Reds and Cubs have the most transcendent fans. In other words, Cardinal fans are going to be there all the time, right? But Reds and Cubs fans, there's really very little expectation for either team this year. That probably has a factor as well. And then the third being this is the biggest one, I think. The weather hasn't necessarily tipped you off to the fact that it's right around the corner. You know what I mean? When it's 50 and gray every day, you forget that spring is upon us and the boys of summer are about to get going again.
Yeah, I would think this is honestly one of the better opening day weather here in the Midwest than we typically have had. I mean, I remember, Reds games being postponed on opening day and just because the Cubs are at home, right, Mark? Yeah,
they take on the Brewers.
Yeah, we talked to Tucker Barnhart about that yesterday. I am certainly curious. I'm not going to act like I'm going to be running to the TV to watch endless MLB games because the rule changes are in place, but I am curious. I think the numbers from spring training were very interesting in not only the shortening of games by about 20, 25 minutes, but you still had a few more balls put in play, guys getting on base, stolen bases. Maybe I'm in the minority, but I kind of like when baseball gets a little small ball. I've always enjoyed the, kind of plotting runners around and, building into an inning. And again, the stolen base, limiting pickoffs this year, that seems to be something that's going to be more in play. I mean, Tucker mentioned it yesterday. As a lefty, he enjoys the ability to kind of roll the ball over and, get on base. So I'm very curious just to see kind of how all of that will play out. Again, all 30 teams in action today. I think the Reds are at 4:10 hosting Pittsburgh. Cubs.
Well, where are you going to go?
With the Brewers. Of course, that was Bob Castellini. Is that right, Mark?
Yep.
Last year? The infamous. Was it last year?
Something like that. Yeah, a year or two, yeah.
Yeah, nothing says, welcome back from COVID, fans. Where are you going to go? You got to watch our god-awful team.
Don't look now, but here come the Red Legs.
Now you, Kevin,
I do think Hunter Green, if he pitches all 162 games, the Reds might have a chance. He'll be on the mound today.
You and I, one of the things we have in common is we like the Reds. That's our team. But I'm curious where your fandom originates because they've been bad your whole life, basically, right?
Well, yeah, right. 90, they won a World Series, and I was, teething at that point. Yeah, they've been awful, really. 2012, up 2-0 in the Giants. That was probably the one time. Closest team to where I grew up.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm kind of I love, geography maps, that sort of thing. Really just kind of followed in my brother's fandom footsteps. He's 5.5 years older than me, so he got out a map and said, all right, what's the closest MLB team? And boom, it's Cincinnati. And we're going to be there today. We're going to be there later today. Mark and you will be doing the show tomorrow. A little spring break trip for the Bowen family. And again, this probably sums up where baseball is, Jake. I had no idea it was opening day. And we planned this trip months ago. And then a week ago, I'm like, wait, we're going to have Tucker Barnhart on next week. We're going to be in Cincinnati. I wonder if it's opening day.
Are you going to the Reds games?
No.
Because they play Pittsburgh, right?
No. So they don't play tomorrow.
Yeah, they always do that.
So MLB's got the big opening day today. We'll get down there, honestly, probably right around first pitch. But I am looking forward to just seeing what the atmosphere looks like because, if you are in Cincinnati today, Jake, to your point.
It's a holiday, right?
Yeah, it's day off work. And, yeah, it is a huge day. So, again, Major League Baseball opening day. If you're looking to get the Indians here locally, they will have a home series starting tomorrow night, obviously weather permitting on that one. And then Saturday and Sunday will be day games for their season.
I think we've talked about this before. Mark, you've mentioned it because of your dad's fandom. A couple of years ago, 3 years, well, it was when they had a really good year, so it would have been 2 years ago. We're sitting there on the couch one day, and I just said, we should go to a White Sox game.
Mm-hmm.
Just bought tickets, drove up it was a businessman special. I think it was a 2 o'clock start or something. And just drove up, and we were back in time for dinner, but it's only from door to door, and obviously you have the curveball of Chicago traffic if you get the wrong spot there on the south side, but 2.5 hours probably.
Yeah, not
door
bad.
to door to the stadium. And I thought it was a pretty cool stadium. I mean, I've seen games there before, but it was enjoyable.
Again, the White Sox, good, or better, I should say, than the other team. I mean, if you look at, win-loss over-unders for the Midwest teams, the White Sox, Cardinals, and the Guardians are all vastly above. I guess the Cubs aren't as bad as what the Reds are going to be projected to be, but it's always good for the Reds when you start with the Pirates.
Probably good for the Pirates when you start with the Reds.
Touche.
That's a good
Touche. Very good. Very good point.
It's like the Spider-Man gif, right?
From Mark Dykton. Marcus Stroman, is that right, Mark?
Uh-huh.
Opening day?
Yep.
And then do we know, is Tucker, we probably should have asked him yesterday, Tucker Barnhart kind of like every other day? Specific
I believe he's starting today.
pitchers.
I think he's kind of
him?
It's him and Jan Gomes, so I believe he's the main starter.
So that'll be nice to follow that as he continues the Midwest tour. Jake, it almost seems like, again, the Pacers have been peeking around the corner with the white flag. I think now they're just waving it.
Think so?
Again, last night, Yeah, Halliburton and Heald and Turner are all out. 4th straight game. And, like, again, I've got no issue with it whatsoever, but the Pacers clearly are playing the youth here to close out the season, and looking for wins is not the top priority.
I didn't see. I'm trying to think. I guess Turner was there. I didn't see him last night.
Yeah, Turner and Halliburton were both on the bench.
I saw Halliburton. He was wearing a White Sox hat, as a matter of fact.
Wouldn't he be a Brewers fan, you would think?
Yeah, he was talking to a lot of the Bucks players. It was interesting. Joe Ingles plays for the Bucks. During one of the timeouts, you know how sometimes during a timeout, guys that are not playing will, kind of drift away from the huddle, kind of look around. Sure. They got their hands in the pockets of their sweatpants. They're just kind of looking around. So there was a timeout, and I see Joe Ingles, and he's kind of drifting away from the huddle, drifting further away. And with each timeout, he would get like a little bit further away. Finally, one time there was a timeout, and I kid you not, Joe Ingles was like 5 feet from the half-court line. And then I looked to my right, and Jordan Nwora is doing the same thing for the Pacers. And they're kind of talking back and forth. Both,
former teammates, of course.
Yeah, in a jovial sense. And you could tell both of them are like, I don't know if we're supposed to like drift away any further. And then finally they both were like, and they walked over and during a timeout gave like a kind of a high five and 2 or 3 words. They're probably buddies, I'm sure.
Yeah, the Bucks really turned that game into a blowout in the second half and then turned it into let's just laugh and have fun on the bench. They all were like sitting in the same style. The Grayson Allen dunk, I think, really of broke that open on Jordan Nwora. Something watching the Pacers last night, and again, when you are missing the amount of guys that they are missing, you can fall into the trap of, are these guys legit, or are they just happen to be getting 35 minutes a night and somebody has to score for a team? But
that's the challenge, right, to figure out. I mean,
I do think we'll exit this season, Jake, and I do think, honestly, it's the 3 guys that their last names all start with the same letter. I think you've got 3 dudes that I look at and say, those can be bench pieces for a pretty legit team. And that would be Andrew Nembhard, that would be Aaron Nesmith, and that would be Jordan Nwora. I think those 3 guys can be a part of your rotation, and you can call yourself, obviously you need other pieces, you need another major piece, but those 3 specifically, I think can be part of the second unit moving forward.
Okay, what about, let me give you a couple other names. I'm going to give you a name, you tell me starter or, starter, steady bench rotation, or not in your game plan. Chris Duarte.
Yeah, I can't go steady bench rotation just yet.
Okay. Isaiah Jackson.
Probably in the same boat.
Interesting. Okay.
Now, you need some big with that second unit.
Jalen Smith.
Same thing. I would say if we're going to nitpick, Jake, the most disappointing part of the season is the Isaiah Jackson, Jalen Smith development. In that one of those two didn't take kind of a Nesmith type jump or even a Nwora type jump, those guys. But again, the major pieces are obviously Halliburton, Mathurin, and Turner. Heald, I obviously can still be an important guy for you in that starting lineup. And last night to me is a great example of why you need one more major piece. Jake, was it ever mentioned in the arena that Chris Middleton didn't play last night?
Right.
And yet they've got a guy that can go get you 50. And I know that Jrue Holiday is not that night in, night out, but he's a darn good player night in, night out for you. And Milwaukee's the class of the Eastern Conference.
Correct. They're really good, but part of being really good is facilitated by a guy that on an average night gives you 38, 17, and 12.
Sure. And did that again. Had that in the third quarter.
I mean, pretty impressive, right?
I was thinking back, watching Holiday last night. Jake, how many, not to get too, Real Housewives of
I see enough of that.
Milwaukee on us, but how many couples in the world are gold medalists in different sports and married to each other?
Now, that's a good question.
I would assume you've got
Nadia
maybe
Comaneci married Bart Connor.
Yeah, I'd assume you have maybe a track couple married, or maybe there's been gymnasts that have been married to each other. But in Lauren Cheney and Jrue Holiday's case, gold medalists in 2 separate sports. Can't be many, right?
So I'm looking it up. I'm fairly certain that Nadia Comaneci was married to Bart Connor. Now, did he win gold? My immediate recall of Olympic gymnast history has to be impressive to someone. Yeah, he won a gold in '84.
Now, again, those are same sport. Different sport. And I know I'm kind of getting technical with it, but because Jrue Holiday was so important for Team USA just a few years ago in the Olympics when they were struggling and it was not a breeze for them.
Here's a better question.
He came off the finals appearance and was terrific.
If you and Maddie both had gold medals, what would you do with them? Where would you display them?
Yeah, you would think in some sort of basement situation. But I remember talking to...
doesn't that seem like it merits more than just having it down in your fan cave?
But what should it be the centerpiece of the kitchen table? Should it be above the bed?
Well, that's rather presumptuous.
We had
Mark,
where
would you put?
I don't know if you get a gold medal for that one, but
we had a lot of Villages talk yesterday. I just want to make sure that we stay in tune with that.
I would think a framed. The living room.
Do you want it in your house, or do you want people breaking in?
That's the other thing, right? Do you want it where everyone knows where it is, or do you put it in a safety deposit box? One of the things that's fascinating to me is you often find that people that have those sorts of things, if everyone knows they have it, it's like Chad Johnson said, Ocho Cinco. When Ocho Cinco admitted that all the jewelry he wore as an NFL player was fake, and someone's like, why would you wear a fake watch? And he's like, because everyone knew I made $8 million a year. Why do I have to prove it by wearing an expensive watch?
That sounds like a very him quote.
He lived in the complex. You read that, right?
I did hear that.
Chad Johnson, when he was a star for the Bengals, I believe for an entire season, lived in the Bengals complex, slept.
Not in their indoor bubble because they didn't have one.
That's right. And they're like, why? And he's like, because that's everything I needed. I had food all the time. I had shelter, shower. Okay.
Shelter.
But, so if you had a gold medal and everybody knew it, like Michael Phelps, where are his 37 medals laying around?
I know. You got to think some are in safes, right?
I would think.
From ESPN last night, the Bucks were the first team in NBA history to have a player with a 50-point game and another player have a 35-point triple-double. So, Jake, history last night as the Pacers give up their season high of 149. They lose to the Bucks. The Bulls lost as well, so that magic number just comes down by one. Again, that's the tragic number, I think we're calling it. So 3 losses by the Pacers or wins by the Bulls, and they will be officially eliminated. 5 games to go in the season. The Thunder coming up on Friday. We'll get to that IU portal news here. It was late in the show yesterday that Payton Sparks transferred in from Ball State. We're going to play some Michael Lewis audio coming up. Michael Lewis was on with John, I think it was last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, when Payton Sparks initially entered the portal. And, Michael Lewis certainly took the high road in his comments about Sparks. I'm talking with someone that's watched a lot of Ball State. They pretty much said could probably be a nice rotational player in the Big Ten. I don't think anything more than that.
I'll give you my thought on it coming up in a few, but it seems like there's kind of a logical jigsaw piece there.
And then Jordan Geronimo entered the portal last evening. So that's now 3 subtractions from Indiana. I don't think any of them are shocking by any means. Geronimo's a guy that maybe a little bit of fault of when he entered the program, but when he showed flashes as a freshman, I think a lot of people were like, hey, is this going to be like a Juwan Morgan, OG Anunoby situation? Is not the most highly recruited guy, but again, has some athleticism, plays that 3-4 spot, could turn into something, and really just never got there. And of course, we'll hit on the Colts later. Joel Erickson, like I said, coming up at 9 o'clock. And the pro day today for Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson and Hendon Hooker, right? Both today? I'm going to assume Hendon Hooker's not doing anything of note.
I was going to say, how much could he do, right?
Does Anthony Richardson need to do anything?
Boy, stand there with his shirt off.
Seriously, if you're him, aren't you like, hey, did you guys watch the Combine?
Yeah, just replay the Combine tape. There you go. Everybody sit down like a substitute teacher. Just have the TV rolled in.
All right, we wheel it in. We had this for March Madness a few weeks ago. Now we're going to do it today. So we'll hit on all of that on what looks to be a nice Thursday here in Indianapolis. Kevin Bowe and Jake Query and Mark Dykton. Kevin and Corey, 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
Ball State head coach Michael Lewis joins us. I was kind of curious, how do you handle the transfer portal?
For us, I think we got to learn how to navigate it to best build a roster here at Ball State to be competitive year in and year out. So we're in there looking for players that fit our program. And then obviously we've got somebody in there that we're trying to help chase their dream of playing college basketball at the highest level.
The Ride with JMV.
Weekdays 3 to 6
on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Shop Grand Appliance for the lowest prices and up to 15% off on high-performance appliance brands like Samsung. Visit grandappliance.com for complete details. Grand Appliance, the appliance experts since 1930.
Imagine the possibilities of getting the backyard of your dreams. Expand your living space with an Indy Decorative Concrete patio. Indy Decorative Concrete, the patio experts. Big enough to service, small enough to care.
Dream homes come in all shapes and sizes. And at TCU, we believe borrowing options should too. There's no one-size-fits-all mortgage. Let our knowledgeable team pair you with your perfect loan solution while you pick the perfect pairing of paint colors for your new place. Plus, save up to $1,000 on closing costs, which means more money for the fun stuff. Together, let's make it yours. Welcome home with TCU. NMLS number 686706, federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity. All loans subject to credit approval and membership requirements. Offer details at tcunet.com/welcomehome.
The college basketball season is heating up, which means it's time for the Wendy's Wooden Watch. You see, in 2002, I was honored to have received the John R. Wooden Player of the Year Award, which is presented to the country's most outstanding men's and women's player, who is also making progress towards earning a degree. This year, players like Drew Timme, Armando Bacot, Aaliyah Boston, and Caitlin Clark are vying for the trophy. So who will take it home? The 2023 John R. Wooden Men's and Women's Player of the Year is presented by Wendy's.
Wendy's 2 for $6 lets you mix and match some of our best items, like Dave Single with a 10-piece crispy nugs, medium strawberry lemonade with a spicy chicken sandwich, spicy chicken with a Dave Single with a strawberry lemonade, strawberry lemonade, if you're into that. Chicken Sam, crispy nugs, strawberry lemonade, Dave's, nugs, Sam. Whew. Pick what you want at a price you want. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's 2 for $6.
For a limited time, price participation may vary at U.S. Wendy's. On the card only. Single item at regular price.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-484-5131 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-484-5131. That's 800-484-5131. What do you have to lose? Call 800-484-5131. Again, 800-484-5131.
At Progressive, we love sports and saving you money, so we bundled them together.
The final horse now in the gate, and they're off. They're starting off with a double toe loop jump, leaving a difficult 7-10 split as there's movement on the inside rail. Only 9 pins separate them now as they head to the final quarter mile. They're neck and neck. It's down to the last frame. Here comes the axle jump. They bundled their home and auto insurance with Progressive. Win, strike, savings, gold.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Discount not available in all states or situations.
Ray Magliozzi here for eBay Motors. Okay, easy now. You're teaching your kid how to parallel park. Ouch! Turns out he likes to do it by feel. Don't worry, eBay Motors has bumpers, trunk lids, license plate holders, and headlights. They've got lots of headlights. When you need parts, get it right the first time with eBay Guaranteed Fit. When you see the check, you know that part's gonna fit. eBay Motors, let's ride. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Thinking about gas mileage. You know, changing your oil with a full synthetic oil like Valvoline Advanced can help your engine get more miles. Right now, you can get 5 quarts with an STP Extended Life Oil Filter for only $37.99. Get started on your next job today with the parts you need when you need them at AutoZone or AutoZone.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
A new career offers new beginnings and unlimited opportunities. Begin your career with Eskenazi Health, ranked as Indiana's top hospital for community benefit by the Lown Institute. At Eskenazi Health, our patients are treated with compassion and skill. That's why Eskenazi Health is looking for professionals who share our mission and have a passion for serving their community. Enjoy excellent benefits, competitive pay, and unwavering leadership support. Learn more about Eskenazi Health careers at eskenazihealth.edu/careers.
The Morning Checkdown. On 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Some history last night inside of Gamebridge Fieldhouse for the visiting team. Jrue Holiday scored a career-high 51 points. He had 17 two-point baskets in the game. The 6'4" guard, extremely dynamic on both ends of the floor per usual, but his offense was the highlight last night. And then Giannis had a 35-point triple-double. Jake, I think that triple-double occurred like midway through the third quarter, and Holiday had reached his career high, 45 or 47, something like that, also in the third quarter. It's not even like they needed overtime or they needed, 2 minutes to go in the fourth quarter to reach those numbers. From ESPN, first time in league history, a guy has scored over 50 for his team, and another player has had a 35-point triple-double.
I was sitting there thinking to myself, he's going for 60. As soon as he hit, he pulled up for a three after he hit 51, and then after that, I think they realized, you know what, we can get some other guys.
Yeah, back-to-back tonight with Boston might have been a play there. 149-136, the Pacers allow a season high to the Bucks. They lose. They actually hung in there really well through the first 3.5 quarters, but the tank is on as Tyrese Halliburton, Miles Turner, and Buddy Hield, along with Chris Duarte, continue to sit out.
Other notes last night, by the way, from the association, the Bulls, as you had mentioned, losing to the Lakers, 121-110, so that, I like how you call it that, Kevin. The tragic number stays or just knocks one down from 4 to 3. That's the number for the Pacers to be eliminated from the playoffs. Also, last night in the NBA, Jaden Ivey had 24, not enough. Oklahoma City over Detroit, 107-106. And Sacramento, 120-80 over Portland. Two notables for this game. That clinches Sacramento's first playoff appearance since 2006.
I can't wait to watch them in the playoffs.
I know. They're pretty fun to watch. Shaedon Sharpe, by the way, the rookie for Portland, did have 30 in that game.
Opening day for Major League Baseball. You want to look at the Midwest teams. The home series will be the Cubs with the Brewers, the Reds with the Pirates, and the Cardinals with the Blue Jays. The White Sox are in Houston. Detroit is in Tampa. And Cleveland is in Seattle. So opening day for Major League Baseball, a busy slate. All the teams are playing tomorrow, a little bit dialed back. And then Saturday and Sunday we'll wrap up these 3-game series, 3 or 4 game series around the league.
I've come up with my own entertaining way for us to keep interest in the Major League Baseball team as Cubs and Reds fans all season long.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I like it.
I'll tell you that next.
Mark, do you take that as a shot at all that the Cubs are being grouped in with the Reds?
No, that's fine. I mean, misery loves company. And the Cubs tore it down a couple years ago, so.
One note, Butler staff Thad Matta, Kevin Kuwick is leaving to be the head coach at Army. 10 years of military service for him, so some connections to Army. Was with Thad Matta at Ohio State. I am curious what this could mean for Greg Oden, director of basketball operations. Would he get elevated? I know John Diebler, former Buckeye as well, is their director of recruiting. So a lot of shakeup for Butler this offseason. And then the IU portal stuff we'll hit on. So far, 3 subtractions, 1 addition. The 1 addition comes from Ball State. We'll hear from Michael Lewis about that coming up in a bit. It is a nice Thursday here in Indy. Good news for those Midwest teams on opening day, especially when you look at the weather for tomorrow. Kevin Bowe and Jake Quarry, Mark Dykton right here on 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
The NTT IndyCar Series returns to action at Texas Motor Speedway Sunday morning at 11:30 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Your neighbor Mark loves spring in Indy, but he hates to paint. So he called Rhino Shield.
It's a 2-story home built in 1992. Around 2001, looking at needing to paint, I heard a radio ad, with Rhino Shield, you won't have to paint again for another 25 years.
That's because Rhino Shield's not paint, it's better.
They're very professional. We had everything done. Everything that would typically be painted on a house was done, and it was very fast.
All right, Indy, get the 25-year guaranteed protection of Rhino Shield right now for 15% off the regular price.
It was done in 2001 and still going strong. From what I've seen on our home, they can easily offer a 25-year guarantee and not worry about it.
Here's owner Shane Smith.
This offer is limited, so call me at 888-RHINO-41. That's 888-RHINO-41.
Don't paint.
Don't vinyl.
Go Rhino.
No paint, don't vinyl. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Indianapolis is under attack, at war with rampant crime, drugs, and homelessness. But Mayor Hogsett is unwilling to join the fight. In fact, under Mayor Hogsett, Indianapolis now has a murder rate higher than Chicago. Do you feel safe knowing that? But Jefferson Shreve is ready to take back Indianapolis. Jefferson Shreve will put more cops on the street and give them the support they need. We don't have to live like this. Jefferson Shreve is ready to rebuild, restore, and reimagine Indianapolis. He's a winner in business, so he knows how to lead a team to turn things around. No more empty talk. It's time for action. Because another term for Mayor Hogsett is another 4 years of the same problems, only worse. This may send Hogsett a message. Vote for Jefferson Shreve for a change. Paid for by Shreve for Mayor.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, clickgrainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
At My Great Clip Salon, I get to use my skills as a stylist to make customers look and feel great. When you sit down in my chair, it's important to me to listen to what you want. And when your haircut's done, I'll save your details and clip notes so you can get the look you love at any Great Clip Salon, anywhere you are. Seeing customers light up at the end of their cut. That's what I love about my job. I'm Katie, and I'm a Great Clip Salon stylist.
Join a salon team. Visit jobs.greatclips.com.
Natalia, solid dismount, but that little pause is a deduction.
Top tumblers hope to stick the landing with Coach Jasmine.
That aerial sequence still needs work.
She needs more certified athletic trainers to find her balance.
Focus. I'm going to need you for the all-around. Wait, who's spotting the vault?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Pastime went on trial. We're talking baseball. Klazuski, Campanella talking baseball.
It's Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Okay, I've got a way for us to keep an interest in the Major League Baseball season throughout like June and July, because I'm assuming that the Cubs and Reds, no offense, Mark, are both going to be toiling through mediocrity for the course of the season. But we'll get to that in a second. First, let's get to the transfer portal. I don't think any big surprise that Jordan Geronimo threw his name in with Indiana yesterday. I don't know if you know this or not, but when he took a leap into the portal, he yelled, "Me!" Sorry.
In my opinion, that sucked.
Okay. Did you get that, Kevin? In other words, instead of saying Geronimo, you see it? Okay, anyway. He now joins Tamar Bates. Let's begin with this question. When a player, has there been a player, I think there have, that has put their name in the transfer portal and then not liked any of the offers and gone ahead and stayed where they were originally scheduled?
I don't know if Geronimo officially entered it last year, Jake, but he flirted with leaving.
He did.
Big time. And I was a little surprised because I assumed that if Trace Jackson Davis, which, you look back on it, him getting COVID at the start of that NBA draft combine might have been the reason why he didn't go to the NBA. If Trace and or Race Thompson would have left, I figured that would have kept Geronimo in Bloomington because minutes would have been there more for him. But when they both returned, I was a little surprised that he came back. Geronimo, and just a few minutes ago, Jake, it just seemed like you always were like, can you tap more into that potential? Because, I think he showed some flashes.
He did. And then he just completely fell. He's like the Jalen Smith of IU, right?
Yeah. I see where you're getting at. Geronimo's a freshman, I thought, had some glimpses. His jump shot never, I think, was dead-eye by any means, but he certainly shot it much better in his early years in Bloomington than he did throughout. And like I was saying, on the heels of an OG Anunoby, I think, a lot of IU fans were thinking, oh, wow, is this going to be like an uber athletic wing that wasn't super highly recruited that just grows into something? And when you look at the roster construction of Indiana, as we've said all along, they are going to be one of the most turned over rosters in all of college basketball. With Geronimo and Tamar Bates now in the portal, assuming Jalen Hood-Schifino goes pro, you will lose 6 of your top 9. They pretty much played 9 guys double-digit minutes. 6 of them will be gone. The 3 returners you assume will be Xavier Johnson, and then Trey Galloway and Malik Renew. So it's going to be massive overhaul. And Jake, I think in an ideal world, with graduations, you would pass the torch to a Tamar Bates or to a Geronimo.
Right.
And it just didn't pan out for them. And again, I'm not like sitting here saying we need all of a sudden get in some debate about, do you blame Archie? Do you blame whatever. It didn't work out. It just reconfirms yesterday's news of what we thought all along, and that is this is going to be one of the most different looking rosters of any major college basketball team come this fall.
But it's like that everywhere. North Carolina was in the national championship game. I know they had a disappointing year this year.
Yeah, but not to this level.
But Carolina and Kansas both have guys. Kansas has players. The guy, if Grady Dick goes pro, which is expected, then the player that was a 4-star recruit that was going to be immediately elevated, he's now in the portal. Indiana might be getting some front court help. We already know of one who has arrived. Also, Harvard's Chris Ledlam averaged 19 a game. He's got 1 year of eligibility left. 19 points, actually 18.8 technically. 8.5 rebounds per game, shot 47% from the floor. I get it, but he's 6'6", but he's at Harvard. No knock on Harvard. It's obviously an unbelievable institution. But
we're not worrying about his credits transferring.
Are you looking at, okay, people are like gaga over the fact that I'm like, well, he's a 6'6" guy that averaged 18 a game in the Ivy League. That's cool. So, what does he become a starter? I think what you're looking at, though, if he were to end up in Indiana, but I like this. It mentions that he's met with Indiana, everything else, and that's the only in-home visit he's done so far. Then it said Iowa and St. John's are also scheduled for in-home visits. Then Michigan State, Florida, Tennessee, Xavier, Gonzaga, Vanderbilt, Wake Forest, UCLA, LSU, Michigan, Villanova, Oklahoma, Maryland, Virginia, and Pitt also are involved.
Boy, he might have to wait till the 2024 Porter cycle, too. But if Coach Pitino gets his hands on him, can you imagine going from Harvard to St. John's?
If I got news for you. If Rick Pitino is going in to talk to this kid about St. John's, then theoretically, Indiana, Iowa, Michigan State, Florida, Tennessee, Xavier, Gonzaga, Vanderbilt, Wake Forest, UCLA, LSU, Michigan, Villanova, Oklahoma, Maryland, Virginia, and Pitt are all wasting their time.
Something to note, I think, on Miami, Jake, because that seems to be the team that everyone points to of like, hey, look what happens when you use the portal. Miami's benefited greatly from it. I think it's worth pointing out, if you look at the Miami team last year, that was a team that went to the Elite Eight, and Isaiah Wong, who is now the ACC Player of the Year, he was on that team last year. Jordan Miller was a transfer from George Mason, but this is now year 2 for him. It's not like they went into the portal and they got 4 dudes out of the portal that are all in their first year in Coral Gables. There is a little bit of a growth. Again, it's not their entire roster. If you look at their rotation, they have several guys that were key components for them last season that have, again, just kind of grown in their respective roles. Mentioned earlier Michael Lewis, the head coach of Ball State, of course. He was on with John last week when Patrick Sparks. Remember Patrick Sparks at Kentucky?
Yes.
How big his T-shirt was?
Yeah.
And how many times the ball bounced on that rim when they beat Michigan State in the tournament. It's still bouncing on the rim. Patrick Sparks was a transfer, was he not? Western Kentucky? Does that sound right?
That sounds right. And then they had the other kid that transferred from that same year or right around there from Kentucky to Gonzaga. That was kind of the start of the whole
And back then, of course, I think you're sitting out,
Correct.
for those years. Payton Sparks is what I meant. Payton Sparks, a Winchester, Indiana native. I don't know too many people from Winchester. Jake, due east from Muncie? Is that right?
Got a dirt track there. That is correct. I've not been to it, but and then Winchester, Kentucky is where you get Ale 8.
Oh,
if you're wondering.
Well, I wonder if Mike Woodson made a stop there when he was looking into Payton Sparks. Very solid numbers in the MAC, all conference type guy, 13-8, lefty. So the Trace Jackson Davis dominant hand will continue. But I thought Michael Lewis had some interesting comments, Payton Sparks related, transfer portal related. This is with John last week.
Yeah, I think for us, I think we got to learn how to navigate it to best build a roster here at Ball State to be competitive year in and year out. And when I mean that, okay, we won 20 games this first year. It's a great first year. We need to continue to build on that. So how can we use the portal to help our program improve? And then, conversely, Payton Sparks went in the portal, and I look at that from a standpoint of he's had a dream to play at the highest level of college basketball since he was a little kid, and he expressed it. He grew up obviously in Indiana and has watched the Big Ten, and that's always been appealing to him. And part of our job, I think, at our level, just as it was at other places where you try to help a kid become a professional and reach their highest level. I think Payton feels like we. Over this year, hopefully we've done our job as coaches and gotten him better to the point that he can chase his dream, and we've got to be able to support that. So I think there's a lot of good and bad in it. I think each situation is of its own, but we got to figure out how to use it best for Ball State. So we're in there looking for players that fit our program, and then obviously we've got somebody in there that we're trying to help chase their dream of playing college basketball at the highest level.
By the way, did I say Winchester's a dirt track?
Yep. I thought so, yeah.
Sorry. Asphalt track.
God. How dare you? Unbelievable.
I don't know why I said dirt track, sorry. It's a half-mile paved.
There goes any chance you're asked to get on the PA system there in the coming years. Isn't that kind of a tough dilemma for Michael Lewis?
It is, because, and I think, a lot of people talk about NIL with college basketball. I think the transfer portal is – I have a theory here, Kevin, and it's going to hurt the Ball States of the world. And, for example, and the kid from Harvard I just read you, let me give you one other one. I mentioned the other day that Graham Ike, the big man for Wyoming, who was a good player for Wyoming when they made the tournament, and then he was hurt last year. He also is in the transfer portal. Now, yesterday he apparently released his list of the finalists of where he's going to transfer. He's down to Arkansas, Arizona, Arizona State, Butler, Colorado, Georgetown, Gonzaga, Indiana, Iowa State, Kansas, Missouri, San Diego State, Seton Hall, Tennessee, Washington State, Xavier, and West Virginia. I really do think that the transfer portal, and I know people are going to think I'm crazy, and I'm fully intending people to tell me that I'm old guy yelling at clouds. It's cool. I truly believe this. I think the attention that is shown towards young people about their college decision, and the message boards and the tweets and all, show me the love, and the picking the hat at the press conference, I think it is intoxicating to young people. I would have absolutely been victim to that myself. No question about it, because I love me some me. But I think that not every player gets that. So what you have, I believe, I'm not saying this is the case at all. I'm not saying it's the case there. I'm not saying it's the case with the kid from Wyoming. But if you have a player that was relatively off the radar in their high school recruiting, so they end up at a mid-major and they are denied what they've seen their AAU teammates getting, which is all the love and adulation and praise and recruitment from a fan base and a coaching staff. If they didn't get that the first go-round, here's their chance. And so I'm going to throw my name out there, and I'm just going to sit back and read the tweets, and I'm going to see all the guys in their candy-striped pants that are lining up outside places to hold up signs to tell me how great I am and recruit me to come to Indiana or Washington State or Kansas or Georgetown or Gonzaga or San Diego State, whatever it might be. I think you now see players that were denied that as high school players but don't want to be denied it for a lifetime, so they enter the transfer portal.
Yeah, I do think that can be part of it. And I think Michael Lewis kind of hinted at that. And I don't think, and I'm not saying that you're saying this, Jake, I don't think that applies to Payton Sparks. I think this is a kid that grew up in rural Indiana and went to Ball State and became an all-conference type player and now is playing at a higher level of college basketball. I'm sure Ball State will receive some benefits, Jake, from like the 9th or 10th team in the insert a conference that's much worse than the MAC, the America East. That just popped in my head. That guy transferring up to Ball State now to play at a little bit of a bigger place, again, kind of an ascending role, that sort of thing. So I do think there are kind of multiple levels to the portal. Again, I don't necessarily look. I assume Malik Renew will be your starting big. And Payton Sparks will be kind of a rotational guy for you. He's a big body, not uber athletic. Obviously, pretty good rebounding numbers at Ball State. Got to the foul line a whole lot. But I think he's kind of a traditional big dude at 6'9" and 240 pounds. So far for Indiana, Logan Duncombe, Tamar Bates, Jordan Geronimo gone. Payton Sparks in the program.
Are you surprised that Purdue hasn't had, with the log jam that Purdue had at some positions and the depth of talent Purdue has, that we haven't seen any of those players yet?
Yeah, I just think from a sheer number standpoint, Jake, it's always smart just to be like, oh yeah, someone will enter the portal.
Right.
So yeah, I just assumed that you would get somebody. What is it? Is it mid-May? Is that the deadline, or that's kind of when the cutoff is? So you still have a lot of time. Obviously, some NBA declarations. Could that impact things? But yeah, I guess a little bit surprised just purely from a number standpoint. But hey, just look into Bloomington, look over at Hinkle, and look to South Bend if you want to see a lot of players in the portal from a in-state standpoint. By the way, Micah Shrewsbury press conference at 11 if you guys aren't doing anything.
You going shirt on or off for that?
I'll try to get a Zoom link.
We have a meeting at 11.
I try to back out of that as well. Try to get a Zoom link from South Bend, but...
Are you teaching today?
No answer on that. Bob Costas in the building today.
I thought he was there yesterday. Is he still there?
Maybe it's a 2-day stay for Bob.
Did you get the memo about that?
Well, my class is just Tuesdays and Thursdays.
They sent out like a big thing yesterday. He was walking around IU.
Yeah, I think a 2-day stay for
might have missed out.
Pink eye outbreak afterwards?
Nothing on that end. But Carter, my
a day for each hour of his best stuff. Here's my thought on Major League Baseball. You ready? The Major League Baseball opening day is today. Mark, you are a diehard Cubs fan, correct?
Yep, I am wearing the shirt.
I love the Cincinnati Reds, mostly nostalgically speaking. When I was a kid at Kings Island, right near the log flume, they used to have a Reds gift shop right there, a little stand, little kiosk. I always wanted a Joe Morgan jersey. Finally ended up getting one as an adult. But I love the Big Red Machine. I started watching baseball towards the transition of the Big Red Machine into the Eddie Milner, Gary Redus era, Paul Householder, Ron Oster. And then they got, obviously, Eric Davis. They won it in 90, my senior year in high school, and that was kind of the end of it. Kevin, you're also a Reds fan.
Mm-hmm.
We know that neither of those two teams that I just mentioned are probably going to be contending for a World Series.
Speak for yourself.
I mean, I'm just saying realistically. So, to keep us interested, and maybe for listeners as well, I looked at VegasInsider.com at the over-under win total estimated for every team in Major League Baseball. These are the teams that are estimated to have fewer than 80 wins. Okay? So these are the teams that are estimated to go sub 500, basically. I figured what we do is each one of us will pick one team that we think is going to have the highest win total of the three that are selected, and then whoever gets the most, the other two have to buy them a 6-pack of PBR at the end of the baseball
Here we
season.
go.
All right?
So not the Taxman coffee beer that Mark got me?
I guess we could do whatever beverage of your choice.
Mark, a rich coffee taste out of that.
Good or bad?
Depends on probably what time of the day it is.
Oh, that's true.
When you're doing it with longs, it's fine.
I think when we had
you could probably dip that donut in there.
Pop quiz caller Mark, I think, would be a fan of that. Early in the morning.
Okay, these are the teams estimated that are prognosticated to be sub 500. So these are those from which we will choose. Miami, the Washington Nationals, the Cubs I'm taking off the board, and the Reds because we're obviously going to be rooting for those anyway. The Pittsburgh Pirates, the Arizona Diamondbacks, Colorado Rockies, Boston Red Sox, Baltimore Orioles, the Detroit Tigers, the Kansas City Royals, and the Oakland Athletics.
Why do I feel like it's the same teams every year? Besides Boston, really?
Yeah, Boston's kind of the anomaly.
I mean,
literally. And, Washington also, the Nationals.
Yeah, I
mean, they're within a handful of years of winning a World Series.
Mark, you want to take a stab at
Since
one
I
of those
came
teams?
up with this idea, I'm taking one team off the board that you guys cannot select.
Well, Jake's going to go first.
But Mark, I'll let you go first.
No, you go ahead because I'm thinking about it.
I have always enjoyed, and I got on board with a few years ago and got on the bandwagon, and we went to IndyCar. We had a race in this city. I love their mascot on their hat. I'm bringing it back. I'm going old school like it was back in 2015 or whatever it was when I first started doing it. The Oriole bird, which is the lamest name for a mascot. But on the hat, I have always just simply, and those that have listened to me for a while know this, I've simply called him Cute Fella. Because he's got the big grin, and he's just saying, hey, root for me. And he's a cute fella. He's a cute fella. He's always happy. He's grinning on the hat. And I actually had the Baltimore Orioles gift shop make me Cute Fella T-shirts when I was in Baltimore for the IndyCar race, which went around Camden Yards, and I had a great time there. So I am taking as my team, obviously I'm a Reds fan, but as my adopted team for the year that I'm putting my stakes for a free 6-pack of beer from you boys, I'm taking the Baltimore Orioles.
Now, do they hate their ownership as much as the Commanders fans do in that area?
I think that they probably wish that they would spend more.
Do you have a Miguel Tejada jersey that you might rock here?
Yeah.
Buck Showalter still around?
Actually,
I'm picturing Rafael
Eddie
Palmeiro
Murray would be my favorite.
Palmeiro in court. What he wagged the finger and what did he say? I did not take steroids. Didn't he have some very
that's exactly how he said it, right?
direct comment about that? Mark, are you still?
So how many teams do we have the options of?
80 and under. Isn't
Mark, pay attention. I'm going to read them to you again. Here, you ready? These are your options from which you can choose: the Miami Marlins, the Washington Nationals, the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Arizona. These teams all have terrible hats, by the way. That's why they're all sub 500. The Arizona Diamondbacks, the Colorado Rockies, the Boston Red Sox, the Detroit Tigers, the Kansas City Royals, and the Oakland Athletics.
Okay, give me the.
Please don't take mine.
Arizona Diamondbacks.
Okay.
Mark just wants to swim in the pool in the outfield.
Hell yeah.
That's still around.
Do you think there's a better percentage that people have swam in the outdoor pool in cutoff jeans in Jacksonville or Arizona?
Oh, Arizona. I mean, think about it. It's 81 home games versus 8.
That's true.
Just sheer numbers.
But Jacksonville's the home of Leonard Skinner, for crying out loud. Come on.
I will take I think they might have the worst over-under, the lowest of any team in Major League Baseball. I'm going with the Athletics.
The Oakland Athletics.
That was my next choice.
Okay,
Give me the small payroll.
Okay.
Give me the small ball. Give me nobody in
fair.
attendance. One of my buddies
They're the stadium that had the sewer malfunction in the guest clubhouse.
Yeah, that's probably the least of their worries. I would
Oakland,
say
59.5. They're over-under for the year.
Stadium malfunctions are a common occurrence. But yeah, one of my friends, Jack Lupo, played baseball at Vanderbilt. One of his good buddies is on the Athletics, and
That's
Tony
cool.
Kemp. He's a good dude. So let's go A's.
Okay.
So the point is, these teams, whoever's the highest win total at the end of the
3.
season. Okay.
Now, Arizona.
Mark, what's your win total? What's your
I have
over-under?
to look that one up.
74.5 for Arizona.
Oh, so they're going to be decent.
Baltimore's over-under, 76.5.
Oh, geez, do I get a handicap here?
Yes,
No.
here is your handicap.
No.
Here is the handicap for Kevin. In the event of a tiebreak,
I just picked a double-A team.
In the event of a tie, Kevin, you get the tiebreaker because you took the biggest risk. And here's the other
tie after 162 games.
Here's
in case
the
they
other.
tie.
Here's the other. Okay, Mark and I only get a 6-pack. You would get a 12-pack from each of us. So you would get a full case. Mark and I get a half case.
A 12-pack. A week ago today, a lot of people said that I had that on the camera.
Okay.
Did you not see those comments?
No, I saw them. I was unfortunately tagged on a lot of them, which brought the photo back.
Where are the needs for the Colts? We'll chat about that coming up in the 8 o'clock hour.
It has no beginning.
Something special right here, man. Let's go.
And no end.
Look, you got to get your team ready to play.
It is a constant.
Get a rhythm going.
Through every season.
Come back again.
It is always Colts season. Firing, hiring, free agency, the combine, the schedule, the draft, OTAs, minicamp, training camp, kickoff, the offseason. Questions is a season to be answered for this Colts team. The best Colts coverage is on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Free battery testing, free battery charging, and replacement batteries that fit your needs. That's what makes AutoZone America's #1 battery destination. Get in the zone. AutoZone.
Lowe's MVP's bonus days are back for pros. Right now, buy a DeWalt 20-volt Max Power Stack Battery 2-pack at $199 and get a select DeWalt Bear tool free. Plus, earn 3 times the bonus points on all Metabo HPT tools and products. Shop even more savings and bonus points offers during MVP's bonus days at Lowe's. Bonus points calculated before taxes and fees after applicable discounts, if any. Valid 3/20 through 3/31. Subject to change. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. Discount taken at time of purchase. Visit Lowes.com/MVP's bonus points for details.
Progressive asks, what do a diehard fan watching the game at home?
With 4 seconds left.
A poorly placed good luck candle.
Don't let me down, Candle. Kick is up.
A last-second improbable win.
It's good. Yes!
And flammable sports-themed curtains have in common?
Whoa, jeez, whoa.
They can scorch your big win high and your beloved sports memorabilia.
Not my unwashed 1997 game-worn jersey. This is what dreams are made of.
Bundle your home and auto with Progressive for great savings and round-the-clock protection. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Discount not available in all states or situations.
Major League Baseball is back. Join JMV Thursday from 3 to 6 p.m. at Joe's Grill in Castleton for baseball's opening day. For more info, head to 1075thefan.com.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
WIBC HD2, W298BB, WIBC HD3, W228CX, Indianapolis. The Astros host the White Sox in the Major League Baseball season opener this evening at 6:30 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
It's Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
8 o'clock hour on what is a really nice Thursday here in Indianapolis. It is opening day for Major League Baseball, and I guess there is the potential that today is also a big day for possibly the next Colts quarterback. Jake, is the pro day for the next Colts quarterback happening today?
I don't believe so. I still am going to stand by with. I still think it's going to be Will Levis. I don't know why, but
there's pictures of Will Levis the other day.
The before and afters.
Yeah.
Well, look at you.
He looks like
I wish
he looks like he's going to like World's Strongest Man.
Yeah.
So by the way, Hendon Hooker.
So what you're saying is he wasn't handing out donuts shirtless because of Michael Shrewsbury?
I don't think he was in line at Long's, although he should be.
By the way, JMV just texted me. He wants Kansas City.
Oh, he's going to go with the Royals.
He wants in on this too? Okay.
The Royals, by the way,
throw him
are
in there.
68.5. All right, we'll give John Kansas
Yeah, he can
City.
get
I'm
in
glad
there.
you guys gave me that tiebreaker handicap. That'll really come in handy come September 25th this fall. The pro days today for Hendon
more beer
Hooker.
for you to drink after watching Will Levis get the Colts off to an 0-5 start, Kevin. Right?
Anthony Richardson in Gainesville, Hendon Hooker in Knoxville. Those are the 2 pro days today.
Hendon Hooker to me is interesting, Kevin, because, and I know I've said this a lot, but this is one area where I think you and I kind of compromise and meet halfway. I was not under the belief that the Colts needed to move from 4 to 1 because I thought it wasn't worth giving up what you would have to surrender to move up in what I thought was not as big a margin from 4 to 1 at the quarterback. And you were saying, no, if you have a guy that you want, you get him. There is a lot of talk of, do they trade their 4 and move back, say, 15 to 20 slots and draft somewhere in the mid to late first and still take Hendon Hooker? And my answer to that jives with what you're saying is I wouldn't do that, because in that scenario, then you are running a risk. Because if you do that and then all of a sudden you are stunned because a San Francisco or a Green Bay or somebody that you didn't think was in play grabs him at 18 or 21 or whatever else, now you're completely set back.
So you go trade back, not trade up in the second round?
No, what I'm saying is the thought process of, hey, either get more pieces out of your 4 or draft outside of the quarterback position at 4, and then later, like in the second, or, get Hooker. I don't think you can run that risk that somebody else might not grab him.
Again, Hendon Hooker not going to work out today, coming off the torn ACL. We'll see how much Anthony Richardson does in Gainesville. I do, and we'll talk with Joel Erickson coming up here at 9 o'clock, who's out of the owners' meetings. But Chris Ballard mentioned earlier in the week that basically the Colts had not gotten there in the process to feel like it was necessary to trade up to 1. You could make the argument that Carolina, when they did it, they weren't there in the process either, but they felt like eventually they would get there. They didn't want to run the risk of not getting there, or I should say maybe have another team trade up to 1 and them not be able to do that. But we see how Carolina has gone to all these pro days with, a dozen people in their franchise attending. Last week, C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young and Will Levis, and then I assume today will be the same thing with Anthony Richardson. I do find it a bit interesting, Jake, that last week with C.J. Stroud and Will Levis, the Colts sent one person from their organization to the pro day. And then you hear on Monday Chris Ballard in Arizona say, well, again, we just didn't feel like we had done enough homework on the prospects. Sending one person to the pro day doesn't seem like you're trying to do a whole lot of homework on the prospects. Like, again, pro days for me are less about what the player does on the field and more about you send 3 or 4 of your staff members to that campus. And you know what? Even if you don't want C.J. Stroud, Ohio State's got 10 other dudes that are going to get drafted. So you go talk to their strength coaches. You go talk to their position coaches.
Right.
You go talk to all those people associated with their college football program, nutrition staff, manager, whoever, and you get more intel on those guys. It's a bit odd to me that Ballard would say, like, we just weren't there in the process. We still had more homework to do. And then at the pro days, you're sending one area scout for a program in Ohio State's case that might have the most players drafted of any in college football.
Kevin, I'll tell you an interesting anecdote that goes along with that. I was just telling someone this the other day. When I was in college, my junior year of college, I wanted an internship, but I wanted to live in New York City. I'd always been fascinated by New York City, and in the spring break of my junior year of college, my buddy Jason Gross had a cousin that lived in New York, and he said, do you want to go to New York for spring break? And I said, yes, because I want to try to get an internship for the summer. How naive of me that in March I'm applying for an internship that would begin in May, right? I mean, like, they obviously had all those full. But this was pre-internet, pre-cell phones, etc. I took a stack of resumes, a stack of them. And when we were in New York City, I went to every television and radio station in the greater New York metropolitan area and walked in and said, I go to Indiana University and I was hoping to do an internship for the summer here in New York. Here's my resume, etc. Every single place that I went to said, well, yeah, I mean, those are filled like by December, a semester ahead. I went to MTV Networks, the Viacom building in Times Square, and I walked in with my resume and my little booklet and whatever else and told the receptionist that's what I was doing there. And she said, oh, well, I think that deadline's passed, whatever. And I said, okay. And she said, actually, hang on just a second. A woman came out, took me into her office and said, you know what? We filled these at the end of the first semester, like in January, but the receptionist said that you were very polite when she told you that. And so, therefore, if you're actually willing to live here, we'll give you an internship. So I ended up moving to New York and interning at MTV. The point of my story, having nothing to do with me, is that business made that decision because they assessed an interaction of somebody with which you would never assume would be evaluated. The interactions with the receptionist at the front desk. There's no comparison, admittedly, between a college kid looking for an internship and a guy you're paying millions of dollars. I get that. But to your point, I do think that it's in the best interest of a business to say, I'm not interested as much about, sure I am, about how this guy interacts with his teammates, but how does he interact with the guy in the mailroom, the training staff, the nutrition staff? Does he consider himself to be above all of those people, which turns into Ryan Leaf? Or like when Peyton Manning retired from the Colts and could name every single person that worked in the building and every single thing that they did for his career, that's the kind of approach that I want to invest my money in if I'm the Indianapolis Colts. And that's why I would go to your point and find those kinds of backgrounds.
And again, there are other ways to do that. A pro day, Hendon Hooker and Anthony Richardson are waking up today, and the first thing their agent is saying to them is, you are on your best behavior for the next 12 hours. Right. You are interacting with everybody.
Correct.
Like they are your best friend. So obviously you would like for when the cameras are not on to find out that info. So I acknowledge a pro day can be a bit staged even in that realm. Do you make anything out of the Colts only sending one area scout to, again, the best, if not the best, one of the best college football programs for producing NFL talent in Ohio State, and then just one to Will Levis in Kentucky? Is that a team that has already done their homework and they're just publicly saying things?
I would like to think it's that. I would like to think that that's because the Colts are like, look, we don't. The Colts may well, Kevin, the Colts may be well saying, look, of course, at the pro day, it's in the best interest of Ohio State University. It's in the best interest of the University of Tennessee. It's in the best interest of the University of Kentucky to have everybody putting their best foot and their best face forward on pro day. So it's entirely possible that the Colts are saying, that stuff that I heard Kevin Bowen and Jake Query talking about is very important to us, but we're not going to be fooled into only seeing it on pro day. So we've got our scouts going and talking and having those conversations at totally different times that you don't know about. I'm hoping that's the case. But I assume it is, right?
Yeah, after these pro days, top 30 visits will be something that the month of April is really focused on. And, 4 weeks from today will be round one of the NFL draft, and we'll get an answer to this. I think I've made it pretty clear kind of where I sit on the Lamar Jackson side of that debate, and I think you just have to stress the injury aspect to Lamar Jackson. I was thinking about this yesterday. If you look at the Ravens the last 2 years, a team that's been in the thick of a playoff division race, potentially one of the teams that could represent the AFC, entering the month of December each of the last 2 years, the Ravens have played 12 games in December and January the last 2 years. 12 games, one of those being a playoff game. Lamar Jackson's missed 10 straight of them. 12 games in the two biggest months of the year. Lamar Jackson has missed 10 straight games. He started and finished the first of those 12 games, got hurt in the second, and has missed 10 straight. That, to me, is the most concerning aspect to giving him the type of money that it looks like he wants, / giving up 2 first-round picks. If a guy's playing style has led to him at the age of 26 missing a month plus at the most important time of the season, that's too much for me. Too much for me.
I think
great talent, unbelievable talent, rare, unique, would offer this fan base an injection of energy and excitement and all of that. But when December and January rolls around, need him out there.
I think Lamar Jackson is a great story for us to talk about. I don't think the Colts have any interest in him. I mean, I guess you have interest. If Lamar Jackson said, my dream in life has been to play for the Indianapolis Colts, and so therefore I'm willing to do it for $5 million a year, okay, sure. But, I mean, realistically, under the terms and everything that goes into it, that Lamar Jackson, and the fact that you have to trade to get him, it makes for a good conversation here. Haven't the Colts all but basically said, look, guys, it's a great storyline, but no?
Irsay, yes. Ballard, no.
Well,
Again, how much of that is Ballard being the politician during the time of year that you have to be when you have the 4th overall pick, and how much of that is just Irsay being Irsay?
How do you see the Lamar Jackson thing playing out? You think he ends up taking the
Mark,
taking
I
the
have no
tag
idea.
with the Ravens?
I think they trade him to an NFC team, and I think they trade him to an NFC team.
Who is that team, though?
Atlanta.
Haven't they publicly said no?
Tampa Bay. Who's Tampa Bay's quarterback?
Baker.
Yeah, Baker Mayfield and Jacoby Brissett.
Do one of these teams look at
the
trading up
Commanders
for Anthony Richardson?
The Commanders one made a lot of sense to me, but it seems like they're out too.
Yeah, I was going to say, didn't Ron Rivera say no?
Yeah.
You guys are going to laugh. You ready? San Francisco. I know they've got good players at quarterback position, but they are right at the ceiling. Isn't Lamar Jackson, if he's healthy, the guy that burst them right through that?
Yeah, I just don't know if these teams have
correct
the cap or the first round. I mean, San Francisco, that's no way they have their first round pick, right? Didn't that go to some trade? I feel like San Francisco just traded away all their picks. Christian McCaffrey, of course, is part of it, but contractually,
Yeah, the 49ers 29th overall pick went to the Saints.
And their second rounder, right, is Carolina's, right? Isn't that what Carolina traded to the Bears?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, again, a lot of it obviously is, and that's what I thought Irsay really stressed earlier this week was, look at the asking price. The asking price is at a really, really high level. If you want to get off quarterback for a second here for the Colts, I would say O-line, corner, and wideout.
I mean, corner for sure. And part of that, the thing to me about the corner,
no positions lost more than corner this
that's
offseason.
The thing is, corner is an urgency. Not urgency is maybe the wrong word. Corner is a need based on their own doing, right? It's not like guys naturally just got old and retired, or somebody got hurt or whatever else. I mean, they've said we need to upgrade this area and let guys go, right?
They've had this run where they've had a veteran corner in the building, whether it's Pierre Desir or Xavier Rhodes or Stephon Gilmore. Pretty much throughout the Ballard era, they have found a nice veteran corner, but right now they don't have that. So I think that is it'll be an interesting debate. Like, let's just play out the hypothetical. They take quarterback in round 1, then they get to round 2. What do they take there? The need screams corner more than anything else. But does the fact that you have a rookie quarterback mean you side with the offensive side of the ball more? And you go O-line or you go pass catcher?
I mean, O-line. My thought, Kevin. O-line and corner, man. You could. I don't care if you already have on your roster in their prime Mike Webster, Orlando Pace. Go on it. Jonathan Ogden. John Hanna, Anthony Munoz. A lot of those are overlapping positions, I realize. You can never have too many. You just can't at offensive line. And the same with corners. You just can't. Corners in particular, because the funny thing to me about corners, and the thing that I think it's the hardest position to evaluate, is corner is the one position in the National Football League, Kevin, more than any other, where when the fall off begins, it is like overnight, and it is glaring, and you kind of never know when it's going to happen. That's why I thought the Stephon Gilmore trade turned out to be a great, sign. When they signed him, I thought it was a great sign by Chris Ballard, because he had a really good, they kind of took a flyer on it. You didn't know if he'd fallen off, and he hadn't. He was really good.
It was
for
a great
them.
signing. Yeah.
I know, and that's why it's curious to me.
Mr. Gilmore.
Okay, that's the look at Kevin.
Interesting there, Mark Dykton.
What was that you played, Mark? Because he's gone now.
Yeah, I know. It was retired, but if we're going to mention him out of blue sky, you might as well play it one
like
time.
A reverence, a little bit there.
Wait a minute. Hold on. We need to. Here's the thing. We need to have a ceremony.
Okay? Well, I played taps when he got traded,
but we need to have an official ceremony.
I saw Jim Irsay's at a dinner for a whale last night.
That we hereby
Lolita.
We hereby declare. He tweeted about that, right?
And now he's got pictures of the whale. Beautiful looking whale.
Is it Brendan Fraser? We hereby declare on this, what is today's date?
It's the 30th.
On this, the 30th day of March.
Got to do the knuckles, Jake. Remember, we got one more day left in the month.
That's right. Indiana won a national championship on this day in either 81 or 87. I can't recall. Well, actually, 40, 53, 76, 81, and 87 were all on either March 30th or 31st, I believe. But on this, the 30th of March of 2023, we, the Kevin and Corey program on 93.5, 107.5 The Fan, regret to inform you that this will be the final time that we play one of the greatest sound bites in the history of sports talk radio in this market, at least from a morning standpoint, which was Jim Irsay selecting a dessert in honor of Stephon Gilmore, who had good moments, saved the Denver Broncos Thursday night dreadful game for the 12% of the people that stayed up late to watch it, and perhaps kept Al Michaels from quitting on the spot with that game. Stephon Gilmore's been traded to the Dallas Cowboys, and as a result of that, we, for the final time on this program, at least this week, play for you the fabulous soundbite of Jim Irsay tipping his hat to the fine acquisition of the former NFL Defensive Player of the Year, Stephon Gilmore.
This one for Mr. Gilmore.
Okay.
Touching.
Mark stood up with a salute.
We will always have Alex Pierce, though. Alex, right? With an X on the end of that one there.
Yeah. No comment.
Poor Alex Pierce.
Yeah. Destined for a big second year here. Okay. And obviously just had a joyous run in watching his brother play for Princeton as they made the Sweet 16. Bo Boroski coming up in about 10 minutes.
Is it dusty in here? Got a little...
I would like for the record to state, by the way, that it was Mark that pushed that button, and it was Kevin that actually somewhat called for the Alec Pierce soundbite. I had nothing to do with that.
And like teamwork, like throwing your
calling and then
colleagues under
executing
the bus and then rolling us over.
Two different things, but I support Mark in that endeavor. Time for a morning checkdown.
The Morning Checkdown. On 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
We'll begin, actually, last night in the NBA with the New York Knickerbockers winning 101-92 over the Miami Heat in the association. Also last night in the league, the Chicago Bulls 121-110. The Lakers over Chicago. That means now that the tragic number, as Kevin mentions it, for the Pacers to get eliminated from the postseason and put themselves into the lottery is at 3. It was at 4 going into the night. It only dropped by 1 because the Pacers lost 149-136 to the Milwaukee Bucks. It was the Jrue Holiday show. He had 51 last night. Giannis with 38, 17, and 12. Pacers on a 4-game skid. Benedict Mathurin did have 29, and Aaron Nesmith 22 for the blue and gold.
Yeah, you know you've had a good night when the opposing head coach begins his opening statement talking about you and how underappreciated you are around the NBA. That was Rick Carlisle last night on what was a historic evening for Jrue Holiday.
I'd like somebody to name 5 other basketball players that are better than Jrue Holiday. Just a nod of respect to him. He's a guy that too often is just overlooked as like a truly, truly great player. We made these guys work for about 3/4 of the game, made it tough on them, and then they just kind of broke it open. And sometimes that happens. And, for the most part, I thought we just kept competing and kept trying to do what we could. Those guys, he and Giannis combined for, 30?
Pure athlete, Jake, Jrue Holiday. Quick, jump, strong, both hands. Again, his son, thanks to him and Lauren Chaney, will save the U.S. men's national team.
Has Rick Carlisle had the sniffles all year? Does he have allergies?
My allergies haven't started yet. I've tried to get a head start on them, but that's probably...
What do you take for that?
The pollen count is probably going to be...
Do you take
rampant? I take Allegra each morning.
Okay.
I've got a prescription, but I don't really know if it works.
Wait a minute. You have a prescription for Allegra? Can't you just go into
No, I have a
Kroger
prescription for another medicine,
okay.
Allergy-wise, but I don't really think it's too effective. Tomorrow, women's Final Four. South Carolina. I didn't say the medication. South Carolina, 11-point favorite over Caitlin Clark and Iowa. And LSU is a 3 seed, favored by a couple points over Virginia Tech. So that's a women's Final Four. And, of course, the men on Saturday, San Diego State and Florida Atlantic. We'll get things started at 6:09. After that will be UConn and Miami. Jake, I don't think something that's being talked about enough is if Danny Hurley can get this done on Monday night. Over the last 30 years in college basketball, is UConn the gold standard? When you think about the variety of coaches, that to me is the key part of it.
Yeah, 3 of them win it.
It was not Coach K. It was not Boeheim. It was not one coach over all of this span. And when you look at it, it's not like Calhoun left Kevin Ollie a national title team, or Kevin Ollie left Danny Hurley a national title team. Each of these coaches, for the most part, had to pretty organically build. And again, I don't think Storrs, Connecticut is too high on the list of hotbed for recruiting / I want to be on that campus.
Well, and the other thing, too, is you're talking about guys that are when we talk about how difficult it is to replace a legend, right? I know that it's not popular for people here to know, but Bob Knight coached at Indiana after, not directly after, but after Branch McCracken had become a legend there and a Hall of Fame coach. And Dean Smith coached at North Carolina after Frank McGuire had become a legend there and a Hall of Fame coach. And Roy Williams coached at Kansas after Larry Brown had been there, after Fogg Allen had been there, and, et cetera, et cetera. And for Connecticut, Jim Calhoun built that program there. And for not one but 2 guys now to be able to go in there and coach and continue what he built, in Kevin Ollie's case, maybe he just directly went off of it, but still, there is no bigger legend in terms of the totality of the program with which they left their footprint than Jim Calhoun at Connecticut. And it's impressive. Potentially 3 coaches in a quarter century to win a national championship, and multiple ones. Impressive.
MLB opening day today, all 30 teams in action. I don't say this to attack intelligence of anyone. I say it more to say the relevance of baseball. Jake, the percentage of our listening audience that you think could name 5 opening day starters in the NFL?
5%.
NFL. So if we get to NFL week 1, what'd you say, 90-something percent?
95, yeah.
And 5% for the MLB to name 5 opening day starters?
Pitchers?
Yeah.
Well, I assume Ohtani's starting, right?
I think 5% might be high. There's no chance I can name 5.
Yeah, Ohtani and Kershaw. There's 2, right?
There's 8 Cy Young winners starting today.
Again, it just goes to show
Cy Young
you
could be one of them for all I know.
Where baseball relevance is. I mean, obviously, I would say Hunter Green because I'm a Reds fan. I'd assume
Max Scherzer.
Luis Castillo gets the ball, but outside of that, I don't know if I can name anybody.
Is Verlander starting somewhere?
I'm assuming so.
Kershaw's not even the opening day starter for the Dodgers.
Really?
No, he's like their 3rd starter now.
It's just crazy how baseball has kind of resorted to this.
By the way, who has the highest over-under for the year heading into it?
Boy, I would guess Dodgers.
What's your guess, Mark?
Yeah, I would say either Dodgers or Yankees.
Neither.
Really? Who is it?
The Houston Astros, 97.5.
Oh, the Braves have got to be up there, too.
We actually officially should pick. Let's see here if there's anybody that has an over-under estimate of... San Diego, the Padres. The Padres are the official station team. Over-under 93.5.
Look at that. No one's at 107.5?
No, nobody has 107.5.
Yeah, Stros 97.5. Then you've got the Braves and the Dodgers both at 96. The Mets are up there. And the Yankees 94.5 for both the New York teams. Interesting little debate there. All right, Bo Boroski joins us next.
Ensure your comfort year-round. Join Marshall Mechanical Heating and Cooling Service Club from Johnson County's premier dealer. Call themarshallnow.com, your American Standard Air dealer.
Take your first shot at hoops with FanDuel Sportsbook. Sign up today by going to FanDuel.com/play and make every moment more with FanDuel.
21 plus in select states. First online real money wager only. $10 deposit required. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit FanDuel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Tennessee, and Virginia. 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 in Arizona. 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org KESGamblingHelp.org/chat in Connecticut, 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana, 1-800-522-4700, or visit KESGamblingHelp.com in Kansas, 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana. Visit MDGamblingHelp.org in Maryland, 1-877-8-HOPE-NY, or text HOPE-NY 467-369 in New York, 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming, or visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net in West Virginia.
Hey there, it's Jake Query for the Good Feed Store of Indiana. Good Feed Store has 2 locations, Greenwood and as well up on the north side at 82nd and Dean. I love the Good Feed Store. You know, one of the things I really like about it is you like when you go into any store and there are 2 things you look for with their employees. You can tell that they have an enthusiasm and a knowledge about what it is they do every day, and you can tell that they have a care and concern for their customers, and that's what you get from the Good Feed Store, because you go in and the Good Feed Store is committed to making sure that you are pain-free when it comes to your feet. Like when I went into the store at 82nd and Dean, talked to Chris, and I said, man, I'm telling you, I've had plantar fasciitis, and it's back. I never know. It strikes when I least expect it. He said, Jake, here's what you do. Stand on this little pad right here. I stood on it. It took like 5 seconds. You have a carbon imprint, essentially, of my foot, and he looked at it and said, okay, here we go. This is very easy to see. See how you're leaning this way? You're off balance. Went and got me the inserts, and I'm telling you what, not only do they have a lifetime warranty and an American-made product, but they've been a lifesaver for me in terms of being free of foot pain. I love the Good Feet Store. I am confident you folks will have the same results. Check them out online, goodfeetindy.com.
Indianapolis is under attack, at war with rampant crime, drugs, and homelessness. But Mayor Hogsett is unwilling to join the fight. In fact, under Mayor Hogsett, Indianapolis now has a murder rate higher than Chicago. Do you feel safe knowing that? But Jefferson Shreve is ready to take back Indianapolis. Jefferson Shreve will put more cops on the street and give them the support they need. We don't have to live like this. Jefferson Shreve is ready to rebuild, restore, and reimagine Indianapolis. He's a winner in business, so he knows how to lead a team to turn things around. No more empty talk. It's time for action. Because another term for Mayor Hogsett is another 4 years of the same problems, only worse. This may send Hogsett a message. Vote for Jefferson Shreve for a change. Paid for by Shreve for Mayor.
The Ride with JMV.
He's Michael Rappaport. On your best day, if you ever wake up and think you look as good as me, you should slap yourself and go back to sleep. Let's just be
damn straight.
on your best day. I don't care if you got a good hair day, maybe you had a good day at the gym. On your best day, don't ever think you look as fantastic as me, Michael Rappaport. Are you kidding me?
The Ride with JMV.
Weekdays 3 to 6
on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Josie's on a vacation far away. Come around and talk it over. So many things that I want to say.
You're listening to Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Kevin, I'm going to hit you with a trivia question.
Okay.
In terms of college basketball, can you tell me what Baylor, California, Iowa, Marquette, North Carolina State, the University of San Francisco, Texas, and our next guest all have in common?
Boy, I was first going to say that's like the portal list for, Evansville's leading scorer this year, but then you threw in my favorite coworker from back in the day at Plum Creek, not named John Pielmeyer. That would be Bo Boroski. I got nothing there.
3 Final Four appearances for all of them.
Look at that. And some recent ones for ours compared to some of those teams you mentioned, right?
That is correct. As a matter of fact, a year ago, he was manning the sidelines, if you want to call it that. He might have a different vantage point of how he refers to it, but he was officiating one of the iconic games in Final Four history. Bo Boroski, who joins us now on the Payless Liquors hotline, on this, the cusp of Final Four weekend again. And Bo, I know now you are, you hung up the whistle. Do you get a little bit already nostalgic? Is it too recent for you to look back? And is it almost surreal to think, you know what, it's pretty cool to watch all this now from the outside and realize I was a part of it?
Well, maybe all the above, Jake. And before we move on, if it's okay, how is John Pielmeyer above me on the list at Plum Creek, Kevin?
I thought his level of accountability, I always respected it. At times borderlined on maybe what you see from Kim Mulkey or Robert Montgomery on the sidelines, but I thought his level of accountability always stood the test of time.
Boy, I'm going to have a hard time refuting that. All right, I'll be second on that list. But, Jake, it is all the above from my perspective. I mean, it was a year ago. It feels like it was 10 years ago. I'm headed to Houston later this afternoon for some meetings, and I do think some anxiety is going to set in. For as calm and collective as I've been over the last few months, I'm not sure that's going to be true this weekend.
Bo, debating individual calls, I'm sure gets a bit old for you, but I have a feeling your phone was probably blowing up on Sunday afternoon when Ryan Nembhard was called for that foul in the Creighton-San Diego State game and the 2 free throws, the eventual game winner there. Your thoughts on the call? I guess we'll begin there first.
Yeah, I was watching it live, and yeah, my phone blew up. People like to compare it to other plays in the game that happened. They talked about different levels of physicality, but airborne shooters are different. Airborne shooters must be protected. The scoring has been down for many years in men's college basketball. The rules committee said we want freedom of movement. We want to protect shooters, and that official did so. Now you have to have the conversation, illegal versus incidental. Defender got beat. Defender put his arm on the hip. Looked like there was some pressure. I support the official 100%.
Should the fact that game was pretty lightly whistled, if you look at how those two teams have played all season, not a lot of fouls called, not a lot of free throw attempts, should that matter at that moment of the game? Like how the game begins to be called, the first 5 minutes, if that carries on for the next 30, do you go off of the rule book, 24/7, 365, or does how the game called influence that at all?
Well, I think everything's a variable, and it brings in the old art versus science, right? Like feel for the game versus letter of the law. But to say lightly called, it's too subjective of a statement. I just think that we can compare that to other airborne shooter plays throughout the game. And I've made the statement before. I'll make it again. It's not about when you blow the whistle, when you don't blow the whistle, swallowing the whistle. It's about whether it's illegal contact or not, regardless of when it happens. So it's a tough conversation to have, and it really comes down to who you're rooting for and, your outlook on life. If you want to bash an official, boy, you're sure going to have the opportunity, and that game presented it.
Bo, when you look at it and you look back at yourself, the human nature aspect of it, do you try to call games the exact same every single time, or do you let the flow of the game determine how? And I get what you're saying, right, about like the airborne, those situations. There are some of them probably that it's irrefutable on the way you're going to call it, so to speak. But does the flow of the game ever dictate the flexibility you have in your officiating from one game to the next, or is that too dangerous as an official?
I think that's dangerous. One of the popular conversations is, the Big Ten not having success, especially in April over the past, 23 years. But, it's more of a half-court type style as opposed to some of the other leagues that are more run and gun, maybe 10 more possessions each team. And if you have an outlook, well, I'm going to call it this way tonight because I'm in the Big East or because I'm in the Pac-12, I think you're setting yourself up for failure. I do think you use the rule book as the parameters. The coaches and fans and anybody is going to cut a play up and say, is this illegal contact or not? Our response isn't going to be, well, what league was it in? So I think you, again, have to apply the letter of the law and the feel for the game, but to wonder if there's an approach based on the league or based on even the time of the game, what is and what isn't, I think is dangerous.
Bo Boroski is our guest, of course, NCAA official, worked the Final Four in 2019, 2021, 2022, and now watches on television, although you're going to be in Houston. So let's go to this, Bo. We know about the teams that make the Final Four. What is the process for the officials that make the Final Four? And then what does that week and lead up to? Like, what are those officials doing today, for example?
Yeah. You're an officiating apologist. Most people won't care about this, including all your listeners, but I'll answer it anyway. There's, 2,800 registered officials in men's basketball, 900 of them Division I registered officials. 109 make the tournament, 96 make the first and second round, and then as you continue through, now you're down to 11. So on Monday afternoon, when these guys got the call that they were going, leads to a ton of anxiety. They'll get there the day before the game, and they have to leave the day after. The NCAA is really clear about that. They want you in and out, and we as officials want that as well. So the officials working Saturday, they'll get there tomorrow. There'll be an officiating dinner. They'll hang around the hotel. They'll stick in their routines. For me, it was always, Cheez-Its and some Subway, a good, healthy meal. And, arrive 2 hours prior, work the game, fly out the next morning. We're ritualistic people. And the Final Four doesn't change that. We don't engage or interact much, with or at all, really, with the teams, with the players. We just kind of do our own thing, throw a hat on, and walk around town sometimes with the families. But we have to pretend it's not a big deal until it's over.
Could you walk us through how officials are chosen? And again, Bo Boroski's with us, 3 Final Fours, Indy native, great human. I might need to rearrange that Plum Creek order on former employees for me after this combo. Could you walk us through how officials are chosen for the tournament and then for the Final Four?
Yeah, it's brutal, subjective for sure, but it's when you talk about the tournament itself, so I'll answer it in reverse order, Kevin, but there's conference coordinators at each of the sites. There's regional advisors, selection committee members. They're making recommendations. National coordinators breaking down every play. I mean, you're evaluated on your body language. You're evaluated on your judgment, your ability to be in position. And then they have 3 choices to make, the people that submit it to the NCAA. Highly recommend, and do not recommend. So you're put in one of those 3 buckets after every game. It's compiled. The NCAA takes a ton of different things into account to determine, who gets the nod, who works 1 game, 2 games, 3 games, 4 games. And it's a brutal process. And that's why your judgment's super important, but, being an optimal communicator is too, because frankly, if somebody doesn't like you, that's evaluating you, you're pretty well cooked. So it truly, in my opinion, rewards the best officials available. And it's a brutal process. During the course of the year, it's a nomination process that's used as a guide. So for somebody like me, I would imagine I appeared on Big Ten lists, Big East lists, Pac-12 lists, and a multitude of other mid-majors. But it's the proof's in the pudding. Even if somebody's pushing for somebody to get to the tournament, it's a lot easier to get there than it is to stay there. And it's a very subjective process, but about as tight as it could be with something so subjective.
So with that, Bo, what's interesting to me about that, so you're telling me that the crew that is going to be working the Final Four in Houston this weekend did not know. So, their friends are asking them, hey, Saturday, we've got tickets to the play, and they're saying, well, I don't know yet. So, they didn't know until Monday whether or not they had plans this weekend.
That's exactly right. And what is even more unbelievable to a lot of people, the 6 people that are flying in tomorrow for the 2 semifinal games, they won't know until 1 p.m. what game they're working on the day of the game. And that was true for me. Well, take the bubble out of it. The bubble was just different. But you don't find out until lunch, the lunch meeting, which game you're working. Now, the 3 that are asked to work on Monday have a pretty good idea which game they have. But yes, it's kept under pretty tight wraps, and so those officials were going to the play until lunchtime this past Monday, and now some of them are going to Houston.
Well, and for you, the real advantage there, Bo, let's be real, is the fact that you don't really have any social options or offerings anyway, right? So you were like, well, I'm good, right? You didn't have to clear anything.
That's correct. Yeah, I was always wide open. Yeah, I never, I would just sit at Kilroy's and drink alone.
Hey, let's talk about also, and I think I'm okay to say this. I mean, we've mentioned it before because I'm very, very, in a small part, peripherally involved in it, but I do find it interesting. The project that kind of got you to go away from being on the court, and that is the fact that you have now essentially the online, I'll call it a portal for lack of a better phrase, for officials at the NCAA level to not only get assignments but to get reviews on games or plays. How is it going, and has it made you in any way, shape, or form miss being actually on the floor?
Well, it's done quite the opposite, and let the cat out of the bag, Jake, right? You're voiceover extraordinaire for RefQuest. And, basically what we do is we say we're in officiating services. And what is that? We call it REAP. We register, we educate, assign, and pay officials. So anytime you see an official on any NCAA tournament championship, you can presume that they've taken tests, they've watched videos, they've had a background check, they've got general and personal liability insurance, all the things that go along with being an official. We're somewhat of the clearinghouse to make sure that that happens. And I haven't missed it because I'm involved in this company, because instead of being involved with one sport, with men's basketball, I'm involved with 19, which is all the different sports we handle on behalf of multiple governing bodies, including the NCAA and a ton of different conferences. So it has kept me so busy that I really haven't had much of a chance. I'm on spring break with my family. I'm not working a whole lot, and I'm headed to the Final Four. Now my brain's starting to play some tricks on me, but I have truly filled the void, with the company. It's kept me involved in officiating in a big, big way.
Bo, last one from me. If I gave you the hat, kind of a commissioner of the day from an officiating standpoint, what would you like to see from a restriction standpoint on either implementing challenges at the college level or how many times you can go to the monitor during the course of a game, particularly late in a game?
Yeah, this is always a popular question. If I were king for a day, I tell you, I would just get rid of replay altogether. But then again, I'm comfortable with the human element. I'm comfortable with the fact that,
oh boy,
our fire alarms are going off here. Maybe I said the wrong thing. Maybe the new president of the NCAA is listening and sounded the alarms off here. But it'll give you something to talk about. But I just think that this expectation of perfection is not sustainable, and it's going to continue to make officials targets. I understand that the gambling piece is an even bigger variable than ever, and there's some concerns with that as it relates to officials' security and safety, and the safety and security of their family, quite honestly. So I get the need for games to be officiated perfectly, but again, it's so subjective. What's that even mean? I think it's important that games end right. And what the NCAA has done with the last 2 minutes rules related to replay is the smartest thing that could have been done. I think you're going to see more expansion to the replay rule in the future, and I think we're going to relegate it to end of games, and that makes sense to me.
Okay, Bo, last thing. For the sake of our listeners,
should we call 911?
Yeah, do we need to take the stairs? Do not take the elevator. Take the stairs for the safety of you and your family, okay?
Let me look out the window here. I think we're good.
The issue I always run into is I don't know which smoke alarm it is. I'm making the whole family stop and wait and don't make a single sound, and then I've got to identify which one needs the batteries.
I thought you were already in Houston and the Florida Atlantic Team Hotel, and some San Diego State fans thought it was like 5 in the morning. That old prank. Bo, do you ever get a chance? You and I have talked about this, and maybe even on the air. I don't recall, but for me, like, for example, when I work a race, when I'm broadcasting a race, there will be moments in the race that later when I watch it, I don't recall because I'm like in a zone when I'm calling the race. And so I'm not watching the totality of the race, if that makes sense. And then later when I watch it, it's almost surreal to me to think that I was there, and I'm like, gosh, I don't remember that happening. Does that happen to you when you watch replays of a game that you worked? Are you not able to fully appreciate the level of play, the style of play, the magnitude of the moment until after the fact?
It doesn't surprise me one bit that you don't recall what you just saw maybe an hour earlier, Jake, but I can tell you that typically that as I've gotten older and work more games, that has happened less. I do have very specific recollections that somebody would say, "Oh, did you know that Edwards had 46 points?" And I'm like, "Oh, he did?" So that has happened. But I think if you want to balance that art versus science, you have to be in tune with everything. Who's beating who off the dribble, who's the number of fouls, where we're at in the game, do they have timeouts left? And I think with that mindset, as I've matured as an official, has prevented that from happening. But I know it's happened in my past, and I can tell you that I was embarrassed at times where people would say, "Hey, did you see so-and-so?" And I'd go, "No, I don't even remember that." So it has happened, but earlier in my career for sure.
After he gets his home secured and locked and everything safe and sound on that end, he is off to Houston for the Final Four, which he has obviously been a big part of here in recent years. Bo, always enjoy catching up with you. Safe travels. Enjoy Houston, and appreciate you fielding some of our questions today.
You got it. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great day.
Bo Boroski right there on the Payless Liquors hotline. You guys ever have that issue of just which smoke alarm it is? I'm like, upstairs,
Well, I thought he was
basement.
in a hotel. I assumed he was like in a hotel, but then I guess you're right. He said he's not leaving until later today.
Yeah, I've had that happen. Especially when
Should I do the thing, Mark, where like you buy just a pack of batteries and just every single one you do it at the same time?
Listen,
I literally bought 100 pack of batteries.
This is the easiest way to do it.
That's not cheap.
Easiest way to do it. It's my public service announcement. My mom does it for the wet leaves. I do it every year this time of year.
What about Karen when it was raining last week?
Every time. Now that we do in Indiana, we have daylight saving time. So the 2 times a year when you have to change your clocks, just then go ahead and change the batteries in your smoke detector.
Mm-hmm.
Then you'll never forget it. You just know, hey, the day that I got to change my clocks, I also change my battery. Now, I'm sure those batteries probably are designed to last for like 3 years or whatever, but that way you're good every time and you never forget to do it.
That's solid advice.
I've had a couple 2 or 3 a.m.ers and just, boy, you're in scramble mode. You crank the sound machine up even higher.
When we lived in our apartment, we came back from like a weekend trip, and it was going off. I'm like, did our neighbors not alert the office that this was going off?
Yeah, you might be a little bit worried about who you're living around then at that point.
Yeah.
Coming up at 9, Joel Erickson out at the league owners meetings. We will chat with him. And also for those that believe Vegas knows all, Anthony Richardson might be playing in the AFC South coming up this year. We'll explain more coming up next.
Do you need new tires? Let me tell you about AAA's new mobile replacement tire service, My Pit Crew. Jake Query here. My Pit Crew, a new mobile replacement tire service from AAA, offers a convenient way to have new tires installed on your car without ever leaving your home or office. The process is simple. Pick out tires online at aaa.com/mypitcrew. Schedule your appointment and then relax. A My Pit Crew technician will come to install and balance your new tires at a time and location convenient for you. That's correct. I did exactly that. Got brand new tires put on my vehicle right there in my own home when the My Pit Crew showed up right there at my house to put the new tires on my car. With My Pit Crew, they bring the tire shop to you. Plus, you don't even have to be a AAA member to use My Pit Crew, but AAA members do get a discount on their My Pit Crew tire installation. Visit aaa.com/mypitcrew to pick out tires and schedule your installation. Then relax and let them come to you. Don't spend another Saturday at the tire shop. Contact the My Pit Crew team today.
You know, tank or not, when I look at that Pacers injury report right now, I'm thinking, boy, they might need to hit up one of these QC Kinetics locations. We've got 3 of them around town, Eagle Creek, Greenwood, and the new one up in Carmel. And just a reminder, QC Kinetics, regenerative medicine helping you with your lasting joint pain. The biggest appeal, we're talking no surgery, no drugs, no downtime. QC Kinetics, a free consultation awaits, 317-559-PAIN. Locations, again, Eagle Creek, Greenwood, and Carmel. Hip, back, shoulder, wherever. Joint pain that you need to get fixed, QC Kinetics deserves a call. Regenerative medicine using healing agents from your own body. Put them right into those aching joints, and you can repair and restore your damaged joint tissue. So you can get living your best life again as the weather starts to turn in the right direction. So give QC Kinetics a call today, 317-559-PAIN.
The Dell Technologies semi-annual sale starts now with limited quantity deals on select performance PCs powered by 12th Gen Intel Core processors. Save on select Vostro laptops with built-in security features and select Latitude laptops with enhanced privacy, collaboration, and connectivity. Save on select essential accessories, plus free shipping and special financing with Dell Business Credit. Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
Small business owners, we know finishing your to-do list can feel like rowing upstream, but it's a river, a whitewater river, and the only paddles you have are pool noodles. Then when a new to-do pops up, you're like, nope, I'm already rowing upstream with these pool noodle paddles. At Progressive, we don't want to make your day any harder. That's why we make it easy to get personalized discounts with a commercial auto insurance quote online, so your to-do list is smooth sailing. See if you can save on commercial auto insurance in as little as 6 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverages and discounts not available in all states and subject to policy terms and underwriting.
Hey, it's JMV. It's all about hoops at Pickup USA Fitness in Noblesville. While other fitness locations are moving away from basketball, it is all hoops all the time at Pickup USA Fitness in Noblesville. Men's leagues, officiated pickup games nightly beginning at 6. Coming soon, Saturday morning pickup games and a women's league. Friday night pickup games for middle schoolers and high schoolers, $39.99 for a limited time a month. Half off initiation fee. You can add a spouse for $20 and a youth add-ons $15 a month. PickupUSAFitness.com, Harriman Boulevard, Noblesville.
Honey, come here, quick.
What is it?
Shh, check it out. All these highly rated wines are under $20. Total Wine must have made a mistake.
Nope, they always have the lowest prices. Oh, remember that amazing rosé your sister brought over last week? See, it's right here.
Whoa, that's a low price. I mean, whoa, that's a low price.
With the lowest prices for over 30 years, you'll always find what you love and love what you find. Only at Total Wine & More. Drink responsibly, B21.
Hey everyone, it's Jake from Payless Liquors. Charlie said sell it, so stop by our 26 locations and check out these great prices. DeKuyper Variety Packs for 99 cents, Sunny D 4-packs for $9.99, High Noon 4-packs for $9.99, Keystone and Keystone Light 30-packs for $17.99, Fireball 175s for $21.99, and Jim Beam White Label and Flavored 175s for $24.89. Why pay more when you can pay less here at Payless Liquors?
Hey, CNV, join me later on today. Joe's Grill in Castleton. We open up the Major League Baseball season. Brent Halverson, Heaven Hill Distillery, and a heck of a lot of fun. We'll talk to you at 3.
It's Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Get a lot more into the Colts coming up here in a few with Joel A. Erickson, who was out at the NFL owners meetings, sitting in with Shane Steichen and Chris Ballard and Jim Irsay. So looking forward to that. I don't know if you guys are believers in Vegas knows all. So I'm curious if you guys find this interesting at all. Have had a couple people mention this to me. The Titans, as of Monday, their odds to draft a quarterback, and just to remind people, the Titans have the 11th overall pick. The Titans to take a QB with their first pick was 15-1 on the odds. That is now 3-1 on the odds. Will Anderson from Alabama, the defensive end, was the favorite to be the third overall pick. That has now changed to Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson to the Titans was plus 850 earlier in the week. It is now at plus 550. With the new GM in Nashville, should there be some smoke to the Titans trading up to number 3 to take Anthony Richardson?
Well, it takes 2 to tango, first off, right? So what do they have to offer that would make that trade appealing to Arizona?
Well, they seem to be in full sell mode. So I guess player-wise, you would obviously have to look at that. Again, I don't know how much Arizona looks at it and says, we're win now. You know, I mean, they have Kyler coming off the ACL. They have a new coach. They have a new GM as well. From a draft pick standpoint, I don't think Tennessee has a crazy amount of draft picks. Again, they have the 11th. I assume they have their second and their third, things like that. It would take quite the haul to move from 11 to 3, but I do think that Arizona is the team that is certainly fielding calls, as they are the new pivot point in that draft. I thought, again, not to get too into the weeds of gambling here, usually when you see that stuff, there's a reason why Vegas reacts in that manner.
The Titans have the 11th overall pick, the 41st, and the 72nd.
And to be clear, it would take a future first. It would take a future first, something along those lines, to move up to number 3. Which obviously,
didn't they say they were open to offers for Derrick Henry?
I believe that is correct.
I mean, does he get thrown into that mix as well? And now all of a sudden, Arizona's like, hey, we've got a passing. We have a vertical game now. We have a running game to complement it in terms of a guy that could salt clock. I mean, I don't know.
And I know his health hasn't cooperated, but think of Rand Carthon, their new GM. He came from San Francisco. They made a big trade up for Trey Lance there. Trey Lance, Anthony Richardson, maybe not the exact same quarterback, but certainly some similarities. Is that of appeal to him and Mike Vrabel as he takes over in Nashville? All right, Joel Erickson joins us next.
The Ride with JMV.
Dusty Mays, the head coach of Florida Atlantic. Did you think that this ultimately was a reachable goal for you and this group?
Never thought about this. I'm so impressed with our guys, how they just showed up and not been fazed by the pressure or the spotlight or the expectations. They love to compete and lay it on the line and trust that that's going to be enough. And as our record shows, it usually is.
The Ride with JMV.
Weekdays 3 to 6
on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Dr. Trudy Fleer here with the 5G Home Recovery Podcast. Let's talk about mobile users getting priority over T-Mobile home internet users, shall we? You don't know them. Why should they take your internet? I get it. We're raised to share, but always coming in second, paying to be taken advantage of? No thank you. With Xfinity, there's only one priority, and that is YOU. So come on, people, say yes to Xfinity. Learn more at xfinity.com/TMOFax.
Now through April 23rd, new customers can get started with 200 megabit per second Xfinity Internet with Wi-Fi equipment included. It's all just $25 a month for 2 years with no annual contract. Or learn more about speeds up to a gig. That's up to 36 times faster than T-Mobile home internet. Go to xfinity.com/TMOFax, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Requires paperless billing and autopay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra. After promo, regular internet rates apply. Actual speeds vary.
Indianapolis is under attack, at war with rampant crime, drugs, and homelessness. But Mayor Hogsett is unwilling to join the fight. In fact, under Mayor Hogsett, Indianapolis now has a murder rate higher than Chicago. Do you feel safe knowing that? But Jefferson Shreve is ready to take back Indianapolis. Jefferson Shreve will put more cops on the street and give them the support they need. We don't have to live like this. Jefferson Shreve is ready to rebuild, restore, and reimagine Indianapolis. He's a winner in business, so he knows how to lead a team to turn things around. No more empty talk. It's time for action. Because another term for Mayor Hogsett is another 4 years of the same problems, only worse. This may send Hogsett a message. Vote for Jefferson Shreve for a change. Paid for by Shreve for mayor.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
WIBC HD2 W298BB, WIBC HD3 W228CX, Indianapolis. The Pacers host the Oklahoma City Thunder tomorrow evening at 6:30 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Boy, I do love that music and that soundtrack. And I think if I had to guess, I know he's a really busy man out in Arizona, but when I was fortunate to go to owners' meetings out in Arizona, I made sure that a spring training game was fit in some capacity. Joel Erickson, I'm unaware of where your Brewers go for spring training, but did you get in any baseball when you were out there?
I didn't. My flight
that surprises me.
Quite work.
My flight out there didn't quite work, and their game was at 1:10 on Sunday. Trust me, I knew, but I that's right around the time I had to go pick up my credential and kind of hang around, and so I talked to a couple people. But I did very much want to go. I very much wanted to go. I haven't been to a spring training game in about a decade, so yeah, I really wanted to.
Now, I have high respect for your baseball opinion, so we're going to have you put your NL Central analysis hat on. Your outlook on the Central this year is what?
Well, I hate to admit it, but the Cardinals are probably the favorite, and then Milwaukee chasing them with the Cubs. You know, depends on a couple of the guys the Cubs signed. I think whether or not they're gonna be in the mix or not. But I still feel like Milwaukee's got a better starting staff, but I feel like St. Louis's lineup means that we're chasing them.
All right. Jerry's happy. That's all I got to say. Listen to
Oh,
Jerry.
Jerry, our Cardinals fan. Yeah.
Do you hate the Cardinals, Joel?
As a Cardinals fan, I'm sure he's disgusted that you have me on. Cardinals fans don't believe that any other fan should exist. So,
well, Cardinal fans also are convinced that no other fans exist because no one's a fan like the Cardinals because they cheer the butt because they understand the game, right?
No, exactly. Jake's got it. You got it down.
Mm-hmm.
You got it down.
Yeah, he does.
After going to school in Missouri for 4 years, I figured all that out. Yes. Yeah, that was when Milwaukee was really bad. And people would be like, "Your team's bad." I'd be like, I know. I get it.
To be fair to your Brewers, times have changed a bit. But yeah, I would say it's probably a wise bet, as much as I hate to say it too. Bet on the Cardinals. All right, as I mentioned, Joel, your work out there was outstanding. Credit to you and Steven and Zach. I know the Colts.com crew as well for getting that content and helping us, I guess, chat a little bit about it. So I've been looking forward to the conversation. Let's begin with the Lamar Jackson chatter. Is it fair to say, Joel, that Chris Ballard was a little bit more politically correct in playing both sides of the fence on Lamar Jackson, whereas Jim Irsay potentially watered it down?
Yeah, that's exactly the way I kind of looked at it. Especially after so many teams just kind of outright said, "Hey, we're not interested." And it kept on happening this week. Pete Carroll, Dan Campbell, a couple of the other coaches that talked were asked about Lamar Jackson. We're like, "No, he's not really on our plans." Now, obviously, those guys have more solidified quarterback situations than the Colts do, but it still was kind of arresting to hear Chris say, "Hey, you've got to do the work on it. You got to look at it." And then like 6 hours later or 7 hours later or whatever it was, Irsay was talking about all the stuff that it takes you have to give up and what that means for team building and stuff like that. And yeah, I did think that I came away from Irsay kind of back to the point where I was thinking, I don't know how much of a chance there is of this happening.
So, do you think, Joel Erickson's our guest. He's on the Payless Liquors hotline. The market for Lamar Jackson, or the lack of market for Lamar Jackson, would you say that is more durability or lack thereof, or price tag and the fact that he does not have representation and is doing it on his own?
I think that, and I know this isn't a popular opinion, but I think that the durability issue and what you're guaranteeing to somebody who's been hurt the last couple of years is a bigger deal. And the reason I think that is because last year at this time, there were 4 teams publicly chasing after Deshaun Watson, which was honestly a much more problematic case what you had to deal with in terms of reaction with Watson is, to me, much worse than just Jackson being his own agent. And Watson ended up getting a guaranteed contract out of it. The biggest one, the one that kind of set this Jackson, or reportedly kind of set this Jackson thing in motion. And to me, if all those teams were willing to go after Watson and one of them was willing to guarantee it, and everyone's saying no on this one, it feels like there's got to be something extra that's a football reason. Because last year we found out the NFL is willing to overlook a lot if a guy can really play quarterback. And I think the durability is probably, it seems like the most obvious one to me.
Well, it's interesting, though, because in Watson's case, in Lamar Jackson's case, the precedent would say that you're not going to get 17 games out of him, but you don't know that for certain. in Deshaun Watson's case, at least for the first year, you knew for certain you were not going to get 17 games out of him, and yet he got guaranteed. It seems to me,
exactly.
I think, Joel, quite frankly, I think part of it could be because Jackson wants guaranteed money, there's a natural pushback by the rest of the owners to say, look, we didn't like what Cleveland did with Deshaun Watson and giving him guaranteed money. We have to collectively, and I know that collusion is a word that people don't want to hear, but we have to collectively get together to basically put a kibosh on this right now before this becomes the precedent and is expected everywhere and it starts hitting our pocketbooks that heavy. Is that...
Well, you saw what Jim Irsay said about it. You saw what Irsay said about guaranteed contracts, and I want to make sure, I think we've all been clarifying this, but when Steven asked him about guaranteed contracts, he was asking from a league-wide trend standpoint. He wasn't asking about Jackson in particular, so it's not a Jackson answer. But he was asked about fully guaranteed contracts, and he said no. He doesn't believe they're good for the game. He looks at Major League Baseball and the NBA and thinks it's been bad for them. I don't know exactly. I don't know the details of what he means by that. He just feels like it's been a bad thing for those leagues. And I would assume, as usual, that Irsay is not just speaking for himself there. I think that there's a lot of times that Irsay ends up speaking for the rest of the league. I mean, the Daniel Snyder case is a really good example of that from last fall, where it felt like Irsay was just the one willing to say out loud what some of the other owners have been thinking.
Again, Joel Erickson is with us here from the Indianapolis Star. He was out in Arizona earlier this week. Tons of content up on the website from out there. Kind of shifting gears, Jim Irsay was asked, about Chris Ballard and just kind of where things stand with Chris heading into year 7, expectations, hot seat, etc. It seemed to me, Joel, that really for the first time in a while, maybe ever, Jim Irsay's comments were not, oh, yeah, we're fitting him for a gold jacket tomorrow. It was a little bit more tempered on the Chris Ballard front. Was that accurate?
Yeah, he said everyone. He kind of opened it by saying, because I think what I asked was, do you like it? There's been talk that he has to win this year to keep his job, or do you see him with Shane? And he said, I see him with Shane, but everyone has to be successful at their jobs, if they're a head coach or general manager. And he did, he said later he's not on some quick hot seat, but you're right. It wasn't quite as effusive as it has been in the past. I still don't know that means that this is I'm looking at this as a make or break year, because there was some mixed messaging on that a little bit too, in terms of what their expectations are for the year. But I think realistically, that if you're going to get a rookie quarterback and you're probably getting the third one off the board, expecting someone to win the division seems a little bit. I don't know if you could expect them to do that based on where they're at. Like, it seems like the Colts are heading towards more of a we have to wait and see what we have here. But yes, no, I agree with you. It wasn't quite as effusive. He did offer up a lot of the defenses he's offered up for Ballard in the past. But you're right. There were no Michael Jordan comments.
Now, Joel,
like there were last fall.
Let me ask you this. Let me tell you one thing that I saw that I found peculiar, and I think that you had an up close and personal observation of it. Jim Irsay was talking to a couple of media members. I think you were one of them. And then some fella from the Commanders that's a henchman for Daniel Snyder came up and started recording it like he was going to put him on TikTok. Now what was going on there? Did you witness that?
No, I actually missed that. I missed that when I was busy writing at the time and didn't realize that the owners part of that meeting had ended.
What would you're aware of it, right? I mean, obviously, somebody got a picture of someone from the Commanders, and Kevin made note of it too, using his phone to videotape Irsay's comments. On the surface, what that would appear would be that after Irsay made comments directly about Daniel Snyder, probably that the owner of the Commanders wants to know what Irsay has to say and sent somebody out to document it.
There's been some weird stuff. There were a couple of weird statements from the Commanders organization last fall. Like, there was a weird statement they put out when he hired Jeff Saturday that said something like, we think everyone should be qualified for the jobs they have. And it does seem like there's Snyder took note of what Irsay said and kind of made it personal. If they're doing that now, it's even weirder because one of the other things that came out of that is there are 2 actual bids for the team now, official actual bids for the Washington Commanders. I mean, that was one of the subjects of the meetings was all the Washington guys. They were, as much as the rest of us were asking football questions and what's going on, they were asking, the team's going to get sold. And it's weird to me. I guess it's not weird if you consider the history of Daniel Snyder and everything we know about him. But, to all appearances, it seems like he's on his way out. And I don't understand why you'd still be taking these shots at Irsay when Irsay essentially kickstarted what's going to happen. What's going to happen is it seems like he's selling the team. And so, yeah, I did see that, and I've seen some of these other Commanders things where they make mention of the Colts. It's just weird to me, although, again, it's weird to me from a normal, logical perspective. It's not weird to me thinking about everything we know about how Dan Snyder has operated over the course of his time owning that team.
And Joel Erickson is with us from the Indianapolis Star. Joel, another thing on the Ballard front, you guys asked him about trading up to number 1. Obviously, we saw Carolina do that with Chicago here a couple weeks ago. His answer, it almost was like, we hadn't gotten there yet. We hadn't done our full homework yet. I think the Shane Steichen hire a little bit late in the process potentially played into that. What did you make of that answer from Ballard?
Well, so I asked him as a follow-up, I asked him, are you concerned at all that when you get through the process, once you've talked to all these guys, that you're going to feel like there was one guy above the rest that you had to have?
Yeah, it's a great follow-up.
And he said no, and that's kind of the stuff that was in the story about no, we feel like there's enough depth in this class. And I think he didn't say this outright, but I think the unspoken part of that is they didn't feel it all off the tape, because Ballard has repeatedly said this offseason, and he said it again in Arizona, that the tape is what matters most, And so off the tape, I don't think they felt like – they just didn't feel like there was a Burrow or somebody that they need to move up with. In terms of – he kind of didn't want to say – and you understand why they don't want to say this. I think it was Steven asked, there wasn't a ton of separation in the quarterback class, and he didn't want to say that. But that is kind of what they're saying at the same time, is there wasn't what they felt like a perfect prospect. And it seems like they feel some of these guys are close enough that it's not a big deal once they get through the process. Because the process part of it that they hadn't done, obviously, they've done the tape work. They've gone to the games and done all that. He was saying that the big thing was you got to talk to these guys. You got to talk to them. You got to figure out stuff. And we've all heard from Steichen how important that is in terms of figuring out who they are. So that's I think what was going on there.
I have always felt, Joel, I've said it 1,000 times now and probably will 1,000 more, Levis just seems like a Ballard kind of guy, but Richardson also, Kevin, to your point, I mean, Ballard likes size and intangibles and things like that. Richardson has that as well. Do you think, Joel, is it possible what you're saying here? Is it possible that Chris Ballard is saying, you know what, I'm cool either way. We're going to stick right at 4. We might get Richardson, we might get Levis, but we'll work with whichever one is there.
Well, he didn't want to rule out trading up or trading back, and I know with Ballard, he likes to throw that stuff out there as possibilities, but Irsay kind of did the same thing. There was one point where Irsay said the 5 quarterbacks that could be worthy of taking high, which, I just kind of made a mental note, because everyone else has been saying 4, and Ballard had said 4. But I don't necessarily know that it's that. I think part of it is, what KB was saying at the beginning. They didn't have Steichen, and Steichen is going to play a big role in this. Irsay said flat out, who fits Shane Steichen's system? I think in talking to Steichen over the past couple of days and talking to Ballard, it's less about who fits Steichen's system and it's more about who fits the mental profile that Steichen wants out of a quarterback. Because I've asked, and KB's been a part of this too, but we've all asked Steichen a bunch of times if he has a prototype, and he doesn't. he's pushed back on that every time. Ballard said at one point, it opens up the scouting for them because they don't have to rule people out because they don't fit a certain prototype at quarterback. But he does care very deeply about, is this someone who's going to work at it and work at it and work at it and be obsessed with it, be obsessed with improving, be obsessed with loving the game. And that's, I think, the part with Steichen that they're still going through. I asked them about not really being at the pro days. I think without them, I think what Steichen said publicly was, I think you can do your due diligence other than the pro days. I think the meaning behind that is if you don't have the first pick, if you're not the Carolina Panthers and you don't have the first pick and you can't kind of force your way into the quarterback onto the quarterback's hip for the entirety of the pro day because you have the first pick, I think they probably feel like, you're better off getting the stuff you want to get done in a top 30 visit where you can control what you get to ask and when you get to ask it.
Yeah, I guess that's well said.
Is why they haven't been out at the pro days. It's different for Carolina. Carolina has the number one pick. Every quarterback has to do what they want at the pro day because everyone wants to be the number one pick.
Yeah, I feel like the dominant trait for Shane Steichen is neck up. Physically, he's worked with a variety, but neck up, they're all wired in the same way, and that's what Shane wants in this selection. Okay, Joel, last one. Ballard seemed to kind of stamp that Kenny Moore and Ryan Kelly will be around here. Let's say you get to the draft, which we're 4 weeks away from it, and maybe you draft 2 corners in round 2 or 4. Maybe you draft an interior offensive lineman in round 3. Do you think in any way we could get to the final day of the draft and Kenny Moore and or Ryan Kelly become like a Quincy Wilson or a Hassan Ridgeway, which I know is kind of a slap in the face to their level of play, but basically could you see them traded at some point during the draft?
He didn't give that impression. He was pretty strong. He was pretty strong on the idea that they'd be here. And I think, in the scenarios you'd listed, even if they draft 2 corners, even if they draft, they're already 2 corners down. So even if they're already 2 corners down with the departures of Gilmore and Faison, they're already down, or they're not down in offensive linemen, but we've kind of all talked about the need to add there. Those are spots they haven't added yet. So based on what he said, it would surprise me if they made that move at the end of the draft, based on the way he talked about it.
Hey, Joel, how'd you become a Brewers fan?
Well, I'm from Wisconsin. That's how.
What part of Wisconsin?
I am from.
I think I knew this
Stanley,
actually.
Which is a tiny town about 20 minutes east of Eau Claire, and most people don't know where Eau Claire is. So, Eau Claire is 2 hours east of Minneapolis. I'm right at the edge of where farmland turns to Northwoods.
Okay, so how far is that from Milwaukee?
4 hours.
So you're 2 hours from the Twins, 4 hours from the Brewers, and you pick the Brewers?
Oh, it's a state line thing, man.
That's cool.
It's the state line thing.
I can respect that. That's cool.
Now, growing up, the Twins were obviously pretty good.
No, we went to some Twins games. I went to more games at the Metrodome growing up than I did at County Stadium because of the distance. And when we went to some games, like I had a bat, like a big Twins Kirby Puckett inflatable bat that I got when I was really little. And I think we went to a game there, not like the year that they won the World Series. The Twins were good, but there's a pretty strong, at least I always thought that there was a pretty strong state pride portion of Wisconsin, and that kind of always led you back to the Brewers, even though the Brewers were much worse than the Twins the entire time I was growing up.
I can respect that, though. I mean, that's cool for sure. Milwaukee's a great town, no question. Joel,
have you ever gone down the slide in the outfield?
No, but I will tell you this. I know exactly how much it costs to do that, and I know exactly how old my 2 older sons have to be to do it the first time. That's what I'll say about that.
Wait a minute.
Can you share that with us? Not necessarily how old that your children have to be, but
for a weekday game, it's $150. You get like a ticket. It's like a ticket package and a behind-the-scenes package. But the real carrot is you get to go down the slide.
No, wait, we're talking about the Bernie Brewer home run slide, right?
Okay, so that includes a ticket, you said?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it includes the ticket and everything, and you get to go down the slide. You do stuff pregame, and your kids, I think, have to be 8. Your kids have to be 8 years old to do it, which I get because, like, when you're there, it really is kind of – I bet when you're up on top of that thing, if you've got a fear of heights, which I have a little bit of one,
Same.
I bet your knees are shaking a little bit.
We have the 2-seater. They have the slide.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I went to a Brewers game. I sat in the worst seat in the house intentionally. They played the Reds, actually, when I was there for IndyCar a couple years ago. It's a cool stadium, and Bernie Brewer was just like hanging out up there on the slide, just hanging. Nobody hit a home run, though. He never went down it.
When we go to games up there with my parents and stuff during the summer, like my kids always know where Bernie is at every moment of the game.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, some people are like, hey, how's Corbin Burns' hair? No, we're all about where is Bernie. First pitch today.
They each have a Bernie Brewer signed ball. He signed a ball for them. It's on their dressers up here.
Gosh, I absolutely love that. The mullet will be in full effect at 2:20 today. Corbin Burns against Marcus Stroman from Wrigley. Joel, good luck to your Brewers, and thanks for all the insight this week, indirectly and now directly.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks, guys.
That's Joel Erickson right there on the Payless Liquors hotline. Again, IndyStar, tons of content from the league meetings. Would you do a hot air balloon?
Man, I've skydived. Do you say I have skydived twice or I have skydove twice?
I think it's dived. But...
So I've skydived twice, and I don't know that I would do a hot air balloon.
Yeah, Maddie's in the same boat. She's skydived twice. Some of my buddies and I were talking about hot air balloon the other day. No chance. No chance.
How high is the basket? Is it more than for me, it has to be at least above waist high. Because I would be totally worried that I'm either going to tip out of it or...
Yeah, I would just lay on the ground the whole time of the basket.
I've heard it's very peaceful, but
Yeah, peaceful. That definition a little bit different for me. I think peaceful is being on the ground, drinking a beer, watching you go up in the hot air balloon.
You do know that Wonder Bread, the Wonder Bread Indianapolis 500 hot air balloon connection, right?
No, I don't think I do.
Wonder Bread, which I think they still make, right?
Oh, yeah.
The packaging of Wonder Bread is the blue and red circles and yellow. They're balloons.
Very iconic.
The original owner of Wonder Bread was at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway back when they had, obviously originally the Speedway had hot air balloon races. So that was the reason for the balloon launch at the start of the Indianapolis 500. And the owner of Wonder Bread, I think it was 1923 or in the early 20s, was at the Indianapolis 500, saw the balloons, and that created in him the image in his mind of what he wanted as the logoing for his bread company.
Wow.
So there you go.
Now, can we transition to begin the morning checkdown with a Carb Day announcement?
Absolutely. Let's do exactly that. Excellent.
The morning checkdown. On 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
If your favorite driver does not win the Indianapolis 500, you could perhaps say that cuts like a knife, or you could say that the summer of 23 is going to be kicked off feeling like it's the summer of 69. And if your driver actually has a problem on pit road, you can say to him, don't worry, I'm going to come to help because I will run to you. Bryan Adams is going to be the act for the Carb Day concert this year. The opening act, well, you could say one of the cars will be fast enough to be like a runaway train. Soul Asylum will open for Bryan Adams.
Look at that. You're on your game. Now, you don't want a tire to, of course, cut like a knife on race day. That would not be
correct. That would not
be ideal. So we've got Bryan Adams Friday at Carb Day. We'll lead things off. We'll have a PBR or two. And then Saturday is Brad.
It was Coors Banquet for you last year, right?
It was Coors Banquet. Okay. I think we're going to is that an upgrade?
We'll say it's a lateral movement.
I kind of like
both.
Coors Banquet.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's like a transfer portal to a mid-major to a fellow mid-major conference. Brad Paisley over at White River right on Saturday.
Yep.
What is next on the Big 500 announcement list?
That would be, I guess, now you start getting into like the dignitaries, right?
So we get into a little green flag, a little
waiver,
pace car
driver, etc.
National anthem. Do we have an announcement on anthem singer again for Back Home Again? Does that seem to be the thing now?
Back Home Again is always now the Jim Corneliuson, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Now, who my spotter is going to be? I mean, that's always a big announcement.
Ooh, look at that.
Anticipated, yeah. Highly anticipated. I had to submit that already, by the way. A lot of people asked me about it. It's already been submitted.
And you are bound for Dallas late tomorrow?
Correct. Leaving tomorrow at 5:50. This would be a little test, guys. This would be the first weekend alone for Boo the Cat.
I thought you might bring Boo with you.
Might be having a party.
I think that's who his spotter is for the 500.
That's right.
Talk about just darting around
by
in
the
turn
way,
3.
I don't know. Was it either one of you guys, be honest, did either one of you guys send me something in the mail?
No.
Whoever it was that sent me, there was no attachment to it.
I'd probably just hand it to you.
Yeah, I don't know your address.
Somebody sent me to my home address. Actually, it was simply made out to Boo Query, and it was a Clemson cat toy.
Look at that.
Clemson paw print on it.
No. Well,
So I don't
Mark,
know who
should
it
we
was,
say
but-
it was us just to hopefully Jake
Give
will
him his
feel
good graces.
Yeah, feel better about us. The Texas race, number 2 on the IndyCar docket. First oval of the year coming up on Sunday.
Coverage begins 11:30 on Sunday on this radio station.
Last night over Gamebridge Fieldhouse, it was the Jrue Holiday show, which is saying something because Giannis had a triple-double by the third quarter, or I should say midway through the third quarter. But Jrue Holiday had 51 points. Jake, I thought you made a great statement kind of to lead off the show of like it was a quiet 51. It's pretty wild to see a dude that's 6'4", only hit 3 threes. I think he only made 8 foul shots. He hit 17 2-point shots.
Yeah. I mean, the mid-range game and then just finding his way.
Both hands. He's
to the
so
basket,
good with his
impressive.
left hand.
Totally.
He's so good with that left hand. He is a tremendous talent on both ends of the floor. Again, married to the Ben Davis legend that is Lauren Chaney. So the Bucks pulled away big time in the third quarter, and the Pacers continue to rest/tank. 5 to go. What have they lost? 6 straight? That sound right?
I'm looking at the sheet here.
Only
It is
4?
4 straight. Yep. Last win was at Toronto.
Seems like a lot more than
last
that.
Wednesday. They are hosting Oklahoma City on Friday and then at Cleveland on Sunday.
3.5 back with 5 to go. So elimination is approaching.
By the way, also in the association last night, Sacramento Kings now in the playoffs, 120-80 over Portland. They clinch a playoff berth for the first time since 2006. The Blazers, who've lost 4 straight, did get 30 out of Shaedon Sharp, the kid that played for Kentucky but didn't play for Kentucky, but got a uniform and a swag bag and then went pro.
Pick right after Benedict Mathurin, right?
I think that's right. Remember, he was in the mix.
Debated that for a while.
Yeah.
All right, coming up to close out the show, Mark Lowry, the Indy 11 head coach. Their season will get underway here coming up on Saturday. They've got a lot of home games coming up in the month of April. The pop quiz, though, is next. So 317-239-1070. Give us a call for the pop quiz.
Guys, solve your ED today with an intimacy guarantee. Only at the Indianapolis Men's Clinic. If you don't perform, you don't pay. Call the Indianapolis Men's Clinic at 999-9000. 999-9000.
Lowe's MVP's bonus days are back for pros. Right now, buy a DeWalt 20-volt Max Power Stack Battery 2-pack at $199 and get a select DeWalt Bear tool free. Plus, earn 3 times the bonus points on all Metabo HPT tools and products. Shop even more savings and bonus points offers during MVP's bonus days at Lowe's. Bonus points calculated before taxes and fees after applicable discounts, if any. Valid 3/20 through 3/31. Subject to change. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. Discount taken at time of purchase. Visit Lowes.com/MVP's bonus points for details.
Take your first shot at hoops with FanDuel Sportsbook. Sign up today by going to FanDuel.com/play and make every moment more with FanDuel.
21 plus in select states. First online real money wager only. $10 deposit required. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit FanDuel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Tennessee, and Virginia. 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 in Arizona. 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana. 1-800-522-4700 or visit KESGamblingHelp.com in Kansas. 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 in New York. 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming or visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net in West Virginia.
Honey, come here, quick.
What is it?
Shh, check it out. All these highly rated wines are under $20. Total Wine must have made a mistake.
Nope, they always have the lowest prices. Oh, remember that amazing rosé your sister brought over last week? See, it's right here.
Whoa, that's a low price. I mean, whoa, that's a low price.
With the lowest prices for over 30 years, you'll always find what you love and love what you find. Only at Total Wine & More. Drink responsibly. B21.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Your home for Indy sports. Now with even more ways to listen.
Listen on air.
Online at 1075thefan.com.
And on our free app.
Stay connected to all things Indy sports, including the latest news, show blogs, and catch up on what you've missed with our podcast.
We're never more than just a click away.
Download our app at Google Play and on the App Store. From your home for Indy sports.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Have you studied? Can you handle the pressure? Sharpen your pencils. It's time for the Pop Quiz with Kevin and Query. Brought to you by Jiffy Lube, Indiana's favorite oil change since 1985.
Anybody that misses question number 3 on this has to move out of the state.
Whoa.
Yep.
Sound like Greg Doyle with Carson Wentz there.
I feel like you laid down that rule before and then someone got it wrong and you cowered away.
Are you saying
you didn't stand by it? You didn't stand
Jake
outside
was
their
unable
house.
to deport them from the state of Indiana?
Excuse me, sir, you gotta move.
Just
per my decree.
Wait till I become mayor.
Oh, yeah? I haven't heard your ad running yet.
Well,
might want to get on that.
No
See,
comment
I would have to
Easy
leave
now.
the job, but I'm telling you. You just wait. You know, that's a I was at North Central the other day, and somebody said, I don't know if you know, but on Twitter, a lot of people say Jake should be mayor. And I said, well, most notably, I say that. Yes,
Yeah.
that's correct.
I've seen your burner accounts. I've seen it.
I just had a couple of nice vending machine purchases.
Yeah, what do we have there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't do this often, but it's kind of a quick turnaround today for me to get down to Bloomington. I was like, I might not be able to get lunch in. I went with pizza combos.
Okay, that's always a winner. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Great road trip
And
food.
brown sugar Pop-Tarts.
Oh, it's the breakfast of champions.
You know, last Thursday it was the Long's Donut and the shirt off. Today, shirt on, and we'll go there.
Okay. I don't know if you know that or not, but that vending machine, actually, I don't think that's been restocked since actually the last time the Kings were in the playoffs.
Well, a little bit of a crunch to the combo. A little bit more than I recall in past years. All right, Jake, we got to do this somewhat quick. Number 1 through 8?
We'll go with number 3.
Number 3, Don.
What's up, Don?
Hello, how you doing?
Don, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I'm on the radio.
Let's go. Don, is this the first time calling?
Well, I've called a few times, haven't gotten through, but I listen to you guys on the way to work in the morning.
And work is where, Don? What line of work are you in, Don?
Well, I've retired from the post office, but I'm driving for Recovery Centers of America, helping people overcome their addictions.
Okay, well, that's
For
very
you,
cool,
Don.
man.
That's
Good
awesome.
for you. Good for you. Don, would you like for me, that would be Jake, or would you like for Kevin to lead you off with question number 1?
I'm going to go with Kevin today.
All right.
All right, Don, let's get it started here. By the way, are you a Bryan Adams fan for Carb Day?
Oh, yeah. Great.
I could see you second or third row there coming up. All right, number 1, the Major League Baseball season opens today. Which cheaters won the defending are the defending World Series champions? The Astros, the Phillies, the Braves, or the Dodgers?
Oh, good Lord.
Think about the name of the dog on the Jetsons.
Astro.
Okay. Question number 2. The
I thought
NIT
cheater would resonate, but I guess not.
The NIT is down to its championship game. By the way, did you go with Kevin first because you like him more than you like me, Don?
Kevin just sounds like a cool dude.
Thanks, Don.
Do I not sound like a cool dude, Don?
I appreciate that.
Yeah, you sound like a school teacher.
Well, I'm the son of 2 teachers, so I take a little offense to that, Don.
Wow. Okay.
We can have some Pop-Tarts later, Don.
All right, Don. The NIT is down to its championship game. For the 4th time in history, conference opponents will face off for the NIT championship. Which conference will be the sole representative in tonight's NIT title game? The Big Ten, Conference USA, the WAC, or the SEC?
That's a good one. I haven't paid much
I'll even give you the schools. North Texas and UAB. Are they members of the Big Ten, the Conference USA, the WAC, or the SEC?
WAC.
Okay.
Don, they've got a representative in Saturday's semifinal game as well.
Okay, let's see. Let's go SEC then.
Number 3, Don, on this day in 1981, and this is the question that Jake said if you got wrong, he would deport you from the state of Indiana. I'm going to stand up for you, though, Don. On this day in 81, IU won its 4th NCAA men's basketball championship, defeating North Carolina 63-50 at the Spectrum in Philly. The leading scorer in the 81 championship game was who? Isaiah Thomas, Sam Perkins, Al Wood, or Randy Whitman?
Oh, man.
I
watched every minute of that game. I'm trying to think who.
He was on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
Kind of spinning around after winning it all, bouncing around with the ball in his hands.
The headline said, "And a child shall lead them."
Isaiah.
Okay. Question number 4.
You get a stay, Don.
The longest playoff drought in NBA history is over as the Sacramento Kings clinched a berth for the first time since 2006. Which NBA team now owns the longest active playoff drought? The Orlando Magic, the Detroit Pistons, the Charlotte Hornets, or the Houston Rockets?
Let's go with the Motor City boys.
Okay. Pistons.
Kind of crazy to think the Pacers are about to be on that list. Not at the top of that list, but it's about to be a 3rd straight year for the Pacers. All right, Don, to close things out, what was the Kings franchise known as the last time it reached the NBA Finals? It's also the same nickname, different city, of course, of the team JMV is going for this year in Major League Baseball.
Oscar Robertson played for him.
Was it the Kansas City Kings, the Cincinnati Royals?
Don't take my hint, sorry.
The Rochester Royals, or the franchise has never reached the NBA Finals?
Well, if Oscar played for him, it had to be Cincinnati.
No, I screwed you up there. It was
Did you?
different time period.
What's that city in New York called?
Right franchise, different city.
Starts with an R.
Royals.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give it to him because I screwed him there by telling him Cincinnati Royals. It was the
You
Rochester
have to move
Royals.
now. You get out.
That's right. Well, I didn't see the disclaimer of the last time they reached the finals. I thought it was just what was the Kings franchise known as.
All right, the defending World Series champion, Don got this one right. Indeed, the Astros. Yes! Number 2, man, I thought we would get there with those hints, but I guess with conference
USA
realignment, it's
with
hard.
North Texas and UAB.
You blew it! SEC, of course, not.
You don't get to come back tomorrow.
Isaiah was
you
correct.
Don't even get a lousy copy of our
Rochester Royals correct. Charlotte Hornets with 7 seasons longest drought.
Don, thank you for listening and for the excitement about calling in for the pop quiz. I'm mid-combo. We'll close things out with Mark Lowry from the Indy 11.
It's a patio show every day at Indy Decorative Concrete. Hi, Audrey Artizone here with Indy Decorative Concrete. We may not have flowers, admission fees, or parking fees, but what we do have is the city's best showroom for stamped concrete. Come in and see actual examples of endless patterns, textures, and colors to create the patio of your dreams. Stop in and see for yourself. We're on the city's southeast side off of Brookville Road and 465. Indy Decorative Concrete, the patio experts, changing the way Indy thinks about concrete.
A new career offers new beginnings and unlimited opportunities. Begin your career with Eskenazi Health, ranked as Indiana's top hospital for community benefit by the Lown Institute. At Eskenazi Health, our patients are treated with compassion and skill. That's why Eskenazi Health is looking for professionals who share our mission and have a passion for serving their community. Enjoy excellent benefits, competitive pay, and unwavering leadership support. Learn more about Eskenazi Health careers at eskenazihealth.edu/careers.
We buy any car. We buy any car. We buy any car. Any.
Did you know trading in your car at a dealer could cost you money? A recent study found consumers who trade in their car pay an average of $990 more. So don't trade in. Sell it to We Buy Any Car. Learn more and get your free online valuation now at WeBuyAnyCar.com.
Find out how much your car's worth at We Buy Any Car.
Saturday featuring Indy 11. If this is your football, this is your show. Saturday at 9 on The Fan. You're listening to Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Well, Ted Lasso action by Mark Dykton to close things out. And speaking of Mark, he leads the Indy 11. His name is Mark Lowry. If I'm not mistaken, we asked him about Ted Lasso last season. I'm sure that's a very popular question he gets, especially when you have interviews with maybe non-pitch aficionados. Would that be a way to describe us, potentially? Mark Lowry.
Season 3 is great, by the way.
Joins us now on the Payless Liquors hotline. Coach, are you a fan of Ted Lasso?
Big Ted Lasso fan. Actually watched the third episode of the new season last night. So, yeah, well versed in the Ted Lasso talk.
Do you cater your coaching? Do you see similarities? Do you see differences?
I like to think I know a bit more about the game than he does. but there's definitely little bits and pieces to learn about dealing with human beings. I think Ted is a genius when it comes to that stuff, getting the best out of people and relating to them. So there's some good little nuggets in there.
You know, that it leads to an interesting question, and that is coaching in general, but we'll go to, when you're coaching a soccer club, how much of it is just the mesh of personalities and egos, probably, when you're talking about professional athletes, and figuring out the best combination, not only from a playing standpoint, but from personality standpoint. Is that applicable in real life?
Oh, massively. 100%. I'd say that's probably more than 50% is going to determine whether you're successful. Right? Even more so the higher you go up, because the better the players, the talent level's there. The coach's job is getting them to kind of collaborate together and work as a team and that type of stuff. So the higher you go up, I actually think it's even more important.
A lot of home games here for Indy 11 to start the season. Again, Mark Lowry is with us, their head coach. Coaches, you guys get ready to kick things off. What do you like? What do you maybe not like / worried about with your team?
We've put together a really good roster this season. The quality that we've brought in is fantastic. I think it's one of the strongest rosters this club's had in a long time. And the first 2 games have been great. 2 road games in Tampa and Detroit. Historically, really difficult places to go. And we're unbeaten. We come back with 4 points, a tie and a win. So we're looking really good. The confidence is great. If I'm being pessimistic, I would say there's a little concern of depth, and if we get injuries, kind of how that looks. And obviously, this is a long season. Next week, you just alluded to, we got 3 home games next week: Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday, which is difficult. 3 games in a week, so we'll see how the group can handle that. But I think injuries will be our Achilles heel this season. If we pick up a few of those, then things might be difficult. But if we can keep everybody healthy, we have the talent, we have the quality, and the staff and myself, I think, are doing a really good job of kind of putting it together on the field and allowing them to collaborate together and have those relationships.
Is it easier to build a roster around being an offensive team, or is it easier to find guys that allow you to be strong defensively and then take your shots in terms of offensive opportunity?
The second one. Attacking, scoring goals, and that creative piece, it can be hit or miss. Form factors into that. Players get hot at different times, different seasons. Things like that, they're kind of outside of a coach's control, can factor into it. But in terms of building a team that's strong defensively, I believe that's 100% within a coach's control. That's the work we do, the X and O's. There's a lot more rules that go to defending. If we do this and we do that at this moment, we'll keep a clean sheet or we'll stop that goal. But with attacking, it comes down to a little bit more the creative element of a player and the individual quality, which is outside of a coach's control. So I think building a team from the back to the front is the easiest way to do it.
Coach Mark Lowry is with us. Indy 11 gets their season underway. Las Vegas this Saturday, Oakland next Saturday. So start with a couple of Western time zone teams there to begin the year. 4 of their first 5 at home. Coach, I was looking online. I saw you guys had a men's open tryout back in January. My soccer ability is non-existent. I'm curious, what does a men's open tryout look like? Do people actually make the team from that?
It's essentially anybody can come out and they get a weekend, a few hours in front of us playing games, and we can assess the talent and ability level. Nobody this season's made the team. They have in the past, but this season nobody's on a contract and made the team. We brought a couple of guys back in for training to kind of get more of an extended look at them. Some high-level college players that came into the tryout. it can be a bit of a mismatch, whether it's older guys that kind of want to try one last time, guys that have never played before, just want to come out and have fun, or you get the guys that are out of college and are serious players and they want to kind of start their career as a professional. So you get a varying level of ability. Those things are kind of sorting through it and kind of find the one or two that might have a chance, and then you bring them back for some training, obviously with your group now, with better players, where you get to really see what their level looks like against them with guys that are playing our league.
Yeah, I'm picturing after 5 minutes, you're just like, yeah, man, go to off-the-wall sports. I don't know why you're here.
Exactly. There are a few of those.
Hey, Coach, I wanted to ask this. You mentioned injuries. I mean, obviously, you always want to stay healthy. The reality is, especially in the rigors of that sport, that's not always going to be the case. So in terms of the things that you can control as a club, what keeps you up at night? What's the one thing that no matter how many times you position it around, you just don't know exactly where your team stands?
I think the game of soccer itself does that to you. There's always an element of unknown whenever you start any game, and it's probably the same in any sport. I really can't speak of other sports, I've never coached them, but in soccer, no matter how well you've prepared and how good your team is, on any given Sunday, I think that's the expression, right, in football. Any given Sunday or any given Saturday for us, anything can happen, right? Referees can make calls, the weather can play a factor. There's certain external things that do keep up at night, because you start to wonder if that will affect the game and how will it go. We can play a perfect game and still lose. That's sports, right? That's why it's so great. That's why everyone loves it, because it's unpredictable at times. So those things keep me up. But really, I think as I get older and as I get more experience as a coach and go through this, since my 6th or 7th year now as a head coach, you start to kind of leave those things to the side and just focus on things you can control. It's difficult to do that, but that's what you have to do.
Okay, without giving any spoilers for those that have watched Ted Lasso, and sorry to go back to that, Coach, but the player on the roster of Richmond and Ted Lasso that most resembles the typical soccer player at the professional level in terms of approach, ego, etc., which character is the most realistic to you?
Oh man, that's a really difficult question. You get them all. You get guys of all different kind of personalities. There are the Jamie Tarts that need kind of humbling a little bit. And I think Ted did a great job with Jamie. Now he's brought into the team, so you have to go through that process with some players, and they come in with a mentality of they're more important in the group, and you have to work through that with them and kind of show them actually that's not the case. If we work together, we can be stronger. And then there's guys that just are all about the team. I think it's Sammy, is one of those guys on the show he'll do anything for the team. I think he took them out for dinner last night on the show, not to spoil it, but there's things like that, right? That there are guys that are just truly team first and will do whatever it takes, whenever it takes it. So we get the whole plethora of players, and it's my job to kind of figure out who they are quickly and help them kind of buy into the team.
Coach, last one for me. I actually, if you don't mind, want to go back to the World Cup final, and just for like a casual sports fan like myself, and again, or I should say a casual soccer fan like myself, just the hype around it, the game living up to that hype. I was in awe watching it as someone that's so into the sport as you obviously are. What were your thoughts on what we saw back with Brazil or Argentina and France?
I think it was a high-quality game. The intensity and the entertainment value in the game was superb. I think, I kind of hit on earlier, it can be unfair at times, but I do think the right team won that game. It went to pens. It went all the way, right, which I don't think it should have. But I think Argentina were the better team for 80 minutes of the 90. Argentina was by far the better team, but France had that 5-10 minutes where I think they put in a couple of goals, and that's what I'm saying about the game, right? You can do everything in your power to set up, but momentum's a crazy thing, and France got that momentum and kind of pulled it back. And I was glad Argentina won in the end, but it was a great game of football. The entertainment factor, the level of the player. I think Messi getting his trophy was huge for him in the game, and he fully deserves it. So I think it was a great tournament, all in all, from a football perspective. There's obviously a lot of controversy going into it. But from a purely football perspective, what happened on the field I thought was really good.
This Saturday night, Carroll Stadium, it will be Indy 11 getting their season underway. Again, 4 of 5 at home here to start the year. Coach, good luck. Always enjoy our conversations, and thanks for hopping on.
No problem. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Mark Lowry right there. It sounds like he's on the pitch, Jake.
That's right.
The wind's
That's
whipping up there at Grand Park.
He's getting ready to. Ted Lasso is great, by the way. Not to take away from the 11.
You've tried to spoil it for me like 4 different times this morning.
I haven't. I haven't said a thing about it.
I had to turn my headset up earlier when you and Mark were discussing it.
I don't think we. Well, Mark, you are now. We were trying to figure out if the latest one that just came out is episode 3 or 4.
Oh, I don't know.
I think it's 3, right?
And now I will say, and again, I don't know if this is your age, if this is the fact that you are the father of Boo, but your maturity there to withhold your British accent for Mark Lowry.
Oh, we've done it for him before. He knows it's old hat. Episode 3, by the way, is the latest one.
Yeah, it was the third one.
Yeah, and let's not act like just because you've done it before with him would have ever stopped you in the past.
I have 2 wildly popular, by the way. And I mean, I go out in public. Kids, in particular, just love the British accent.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm sure kids. Yeah,
I have 2, yeah.
Child Protective Services, or what's the number for that?
I have the old guy with the pipe, and then I have the enthusiastic pub-crawling soccer fan. It just depends on which one you like.
Which I guess, to be fair, is Ted Lasso characters, right?
That's right. Yeah, do you like the Beatles? There's that guy,
That's a new one.
What's that?
Yeah, that was a little new.
You're not familiar with that one?
No.
That one I know.
That is, again, if Jim Irsay and
The
Boris
bumbling.
Johnson had a kid, I think that's what that sound is.
I was watching the 11 taken to the pitch against Las Vegas. Yeah, see? Oh,
It's gonna be a long 3 hours tomorrow.
What's that?
It's going to be a long 3 hours tomorrow. If you're busting out that already.
You too, in the saddle. I'm off to Cincy.
Are you picking
after Bob
up a
Costas?
few extra pounds tomorrow?
I think the Reds are winning. Hunter Green's getting it done. Marcus Stroman.
Are you going to the game?
Corbin Burns.
No, he's not
No,
going.
that's right.
No, unfortunately not.
Wait a minute, you're going to Cincinnati for a day?
Well, Thursday night, Friday night.
Okay. You couldn't have done that on the weekend? Squeeze that in? Got a little work time?
Rosy spring break.
Mark and I will have fun for sure.
You got to
Now they have
take care of the children.
Are you going to Jungle Gyms?
I think we will be doing some indoor activities tomorrow because the weather looks awful. Newport
really?
Aquarium.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a fun one. Do the shark walk.
Okay. Shark walk. Noted. All right.
It's a fun one. That's a really cool
If anyone has any Cincinnati kid-friendly suggestions, feel free to message them my way. Easier said than done. And Jake, you are Dallas bound. You said late Friday? Dallas-ish bound?
Headed to Texas.
Do you have a Texas accent you want to throw out there, too?
We'll say it.
You got
Mark,
you got to go to the gas station.
on the way home.
Go to the
for you.
gas station and see if that flies.
You know that the Texas Motor Speedway is literally across the street from a Buc-ee's.
There you go.
Like you go in there, like I'll never forget one of the great cross-cultural, things I've ever witnessed was strolling through Buc-ee's and buying like rattlesnake jerky with Sebastian Bourdais.
I feel like gas stations in Disney World
great.
are where you can test out your accents and no one's gonna second guess it.
That's right.
Like, what are you talking about?
Will Rosie be up for the shark walk?
I mean, it's pretty fun. My little ones have done it.
Look, it usually takes Rosie about 20 minutes to get acclimated to
shark
any
walk?
setting.
So it's
They
like
put
it's
them
like
on
a
leash. What
no,
goes
it's
on
like
there?
a
I didn't know they
giant.
have feet.
It's like giant netting above a shark tank, and you walk over the shark tank. So the sharks are swimming underneath you.
Oh,
it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, if I'm going to guess,
Well,
Rosie,
they have that here, just like they have here at the zoo, where you walk through.
you might be able to hear Rosie screaming from the studio here.
It's I mean, you're not going to fall in.
Thank you for clarifying that, Mark. I didn't know if that was the special
gonna get
package
Skyline
you could
chili?
buy.
Pay a little extra, and they cut the nets for you.
Frisch's Big Boy will be on the agenda, along with some LaRosa's action. You guys have a great Friday. Everybody have a great weekend. Enjoy opening.